Afternoon, how are you? And welcome to the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X. As always, presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website where 100% of the revenue stays right here in the lovely province of Alberta at PlayAlberta.ca. Rookie move here. There we go. Not dressed properly, but we're rocking and rolling. Hi, who those who are listening at Sports 1440, sports1440.ca, watching live on Oilers Instagram, X, Facebook, well as YouTube. We love it. Always happy to have you along for the afternoon ride, and we got a lot to talk about. Man, it's the best team in the league. The Washington Capitals coming to town. The Edmonton Oilers being the second best team in the league since October 15th. Both of these teams, they're the two best teams since the calendar turned to 2025. Unfortunately, there's no Connor McDavid in the lineup tonight. Otherwise, it would be an epic battle. Epic battle. So, by the way, if you want to go, we're just going to do very, very simple. Just face value. If you want a pair of seats at tonight's game, all the money is going to go to Gregor's grads. So if you want to go, it's $400. Boom, you can have the seats and rock and roll. So getting into the Gregor's grad season. So and that'll sponsor a grad to get a suit. We can get him a suit, shirt, tie, shoes, socks, pocket square, everything comes in usually around $375 to $400, depending on how much alterations have to be made for each suit. So there you go. If you want to go to the game, you get to see the grade 8. How many people can say they saw Ovi live? Like, he is a big draw still at his age. 21 goals in 30 games. He leads the NHL in goals per game, and Leon Draisaitl leads the NHL in goals. They're the only two players in the NHL active players who have 3 50-goal seasons under their belts. Draisaitl's on pace for his 4th. When he does it, he will become only because if he scores 50 goals, he's on pace for 50 assists. So 50 goals, 50 assists in the same season. He's one of only 10 players all time to do that 4 times. Ovi's never done it. 4 times where he had 50 goals and 50 assists. It'll be Draisaitl's 4th season of 50 goals and 100 points. Because some guys will have, 58 goals, 39 points. You get over 100 points or assists, but you don't get over, or like 43 assists, I should say. Put you over 100 points. Doesn't put you at the 50-50 club. 50-50 club is unique because it shows you're an elite goal scorer and an elite passer. And that's exactly what Leon Draisaitl is. And the Oilers will need him tonight because there is no Connor McDavid. As Ovechkin mentioned today, says, you know what? Yeah, it's disappointing. You like to see him play, but good for us. And it's true. Like, come on. You'd love to see it. I think there's a part of it. If you're a Washington fan and you only see the Oilers twice a year, I firmly believe you'd much rather watch McDavid play. It would be harder for your team to win, but you don't want to watch him. No different than the Oilers fans. You don't get to see Ovi other than twice a year. You'd be like, okay, you know what? It might make it harder to win, but I'd rather face him. That's just how it is. So it is. I was talking to some Washington people, and they're disappointed that they don't get to see McDavid. Now, they do meet again in the final week of February when they come out of the Four Nations Cup break, and that game will be in Washington. But you're a fan of the game, which I think most, you're a diehard Oilers fan first, for instance. You're still a fan of the NHL, and you want to see the best players. For sure you do. So tonight, it is an opportunity to see the grade 8, who is having an unbelievable year. Like at age 39, his 20th season in the NHL, and he just continues to rock and roll. It's highly impressive, man. Very impressive. So his game has changed for sure, right? He's not the physical, robust young Ovechkin who came in the league and took it by storm, was scoring 50 goals and 200 hits, and he was a power forward. He was an absolute freight train. Like I remember talking to defensemen, they're just like, you know what, you play against some of the superstars, you're like, yeah, okay, you know what, you don't want to give them their space, but you can work them over. And Ovechkin is just such a big man. Like, even you see him today, like his shoulders, he's just huge. Like, I guarantee he's more than 230 pounds. He is just thick. And he has a hoodie that he has worn for 7 straight years. And on the back, it says, well, I'm not Michael Jordan. And it's a reference to Devontae Smith-Pelly. And when they used to play these soccer games, it kind of became somewhat of a joke. They're playing warm-up soccer. And somehow, I don't know if, he couldn't play basketball or whatever. So just made it, well, I'm not Michael Jordan. And so they bought them this Washington Capitals hoodie. And on the back of it, in big letters, that's what it says. He has worn it virtually every day since. And he's trying to keep it as long as he can. But I guess it cuts down on them having to buy him anything else. So that's it was quite funny seeing him walking around in that today. So Oilers, the lineup, I know a lot of people are thinking it's going to be Nugent Hopkins, Hyman, and Skinner. I don't think so. I think it's going to be Henrique, Hyman, and Skinner. Adam Henrique has played the most of any center with Jeff Skinner. And Henrique and Hyman, when Hyman moved down there to play with Henrique for a few games when Connor Brown got a look up top, coach liked it. So if you listen to Chris Knobloch's never one to try to play games or anything. He'll usually tell you who the lineup is. He says, hey, we haven't decided, but the lines are going to be mixed up. Because if it was just Skinner going up there, it wouldn't really be a big mix-up. So I think it's going to be Henrique, Hyman, and Skinner. Now, that doesn't mean that they'll stick like that. We all know that with Knobloch. He coaches based on his feel of the game and what he sees, and he's not afraid to mix his lines, and his players react well. There's a reason why Knobloch has been ultra successful since coming in as an NHL head coach. Right? He's up to 125, 127 games. And since he's been hired, I think he has the best record of any coach in the NHL. I have to double check that, but I am 90% sure that since he was hired last year, he has the best record amongst coaches. So that is it's not bad. He's been pretty good. I think we can all admit to that. So it's worked out well for him, and obviously it's worked out well for the Edmonton Oilers. So I'm looking quickly at he does have the highest points percentage at 687. 75 wins, 32 losses, 8 overtime losses. The Jets have one more point, but they've played one more game. So the Oilers have a 687 points percentage. The Jets are at 685. Now, they've had 2 different coaches in that time. But still, if we just go at teams, it's the Oilers and the Jets, then the Hurricanes, then the Stars, Panthers, Maple Leafs, Avs, Capitals. The Rangers still have the 9th best record since last November, and the Canucks also in top 10. So Knobloch, though, he has pushed a lot of the right buttons a lot of the time. And so you'll have Skinner, I suspect, with Henrique and Hyman. The Draisaitl line won't change with Arvidsson and Podkolzin. Also, look for Arvidsson to take McDavid's spot on the power play. Nugent Hopkins, as we saw the last time, he becomes the guy who circles back. He's the guy who brings the puck in. And so he'll move around. But look for Arvidsson to be the right shot on the left side. So a little bit different look because when you have McDavid, Draisaitl, McDavid in the middle, and obviously it's had boatloads of success. But they'll opt to put in Arvidsson on the left side as a right shot on the first unit power play. So, and I look at what he can bring. The power play has been very good. Obviously, without McDavid, a lot changes. Your zone entries aren't nearly as easy. Right? Like Nugent Hopkins is good at it, but it's not the same. Right? Now, Draisaitl will bring it in too sometimes. But a lot of it falls on Nugent Hopkins, a little bit more in the zone entries. And then you will have a line of Nugent Hopkins with Janmark and Brown, as well as Philp, Kapanen, and Corey Perry. So Kapanen will draw back in as McDavid sits out his first of 3-game suspension this week. Defense will remain the same. You've got Bouchard and Ekholm, Stetcher and Nurse, Kulak and Emerson, and we know that Kulak and Stetcher will swap spots during the game. Stu Skinner will get the start in goal. Meanwhile, the Washington Capitals line up today. Logan Thompson gets the start in goal. He's been excellent for them. .925 save percentage on the season. He's made 25 starts, and it's 21 for Lindgren. Now, it was pretty much rotation the whole way until Lindgren got concussed and missed a week. But talking to people in Washington, they think you might start to see Thompson, get a few more starts. just because he's been better. And all of his numbers say he's been better. Actual save percentage, goals against average is better. Saves above expected is better. High danger saves. So he's just been better. So it'll be a test tonight for the Oilers to see if they can score. Dylan Strome will center Ovechkin and McMichael. Dubois between Wilson and Protas. That's a huge line, like massive. Alexei Protas is, anybody who's going to the game, if you're sitting in the lower bowl, you're going to be like, who is this guy? He is a monster. I remember seeing him as a 17-year-old kid. He was a little bit gangly, but now he's filled out. And I was walking around that washing room, like Ovechkin and Wilson and Dubois and Protas. They got a big team. Like, they're big. So they'll be a heavy team. They're pretty quick. This will be a great test for the Oilers. Then you got Eller with Radish and Ethan Frank, Mangiapane, Nick Dowd, and Brandon Duhaime on the fourth line. Sandin and Carlson, Chychrun and Van Riemsdyk, Vervey, and Matt Roy will be the defense pairings. The only real injury they have right now is Sonny Milano. Obviously, Backstrom and Oshie have been on LTIR all season long. They're not going to play. Essentially retired. But Sonny Milano is the only injured guy right now for the Washington Capitals. 833-401-1440. 833-401-1440. In our Ewell inbox, you can text in on that. Also today on the program, we will hear from Matthias Ekholm. We're going to hear a little bit from Ovechkin. Ovechkin's a huge collector. He's got a lot of sticks, pucks, and he was in Edmonton yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw the pictures online. I'm sure you did, but he kind of went through a tour, got to see a lot of Gretzky stuff. They let him try on his gloves and the stick that he used. He does have a Gretzky stick. He said he has a Lemieux stick. He's got a pretty big collection. That's just something that he really likes. Obviously, has a lot of his own pucks from big moments. The other thing he talked about was, hey, man, I'm still 21 goals shy of the record. It's hard to score goals. He's not taking it for granted that it's a foregone conclusion that'll happen this year. I think it's a foregone conclusion it's going to happen. But 21 goals is still, you can't just, as good of a goal scorer he is, we can all assume he's going to do it, but it's just not that easy. So Joe Beninati will join us to talk about the Capitals coming up here in hour number one. We'll also get Chris Franklin out of Philly. Dave McCarthy from Sirius XM will be by. Struds, as always, is here on Tuesday. Spec and DVD. We'll get to the lineup, 5 questions. Also, we'll talk about, there's still lots to talk about. Can the NHL, will anything change? Is it, you would like to think it would, but it's funny how many people I hear, well, you gotta fight through it. But what does that mean? Like, are you telling me that you can't check guys cleanly? Like, Nick Lidstrom didn't take a lot of penalties. Hard to play against. Right? Like, with good positioning and good smarts, you can still fight through opportunities. No one's asking to have a different rule book for your star players than everybody else. Just enforce the rule book you have, because guess what? Where do most infractions in hockey occur? On the puck carrier? Guy with the puck? For the vast majority, would we agree with that? Anybody who's watched the game, anybody who's played the game, the vast majority of infractions occur on the puck carrier. So, number one. Number two, who has the puck the most? Well, I can tell you. Do you know which forward in the NHL has had the puck on his stick for the most minutes this season? And you might be blown away by how little time top player actually has in a game with the puck on their stick. But I'm telling you, just at 5-on-5, because that's where the majority of infractions occur, is 5-on-5. Cons, any guess on which forward has the puck the most on their stick 5-on-5?
To 29 in Edmonton?
Very good guess, Connor Halley.
There we go.
Leon Draisaitl leads all forwards at 63 minutes. This is just 5-on-5. I didn't include power play because obviously guys touch the puck way more than power play. But in 46 games, he's had the puck on his stick for just over 63 minutes. Think about it. But And then you go down, you got McKinnon, you got McDavid, you got a lot of the other guys, Jack Hughes, go down the list. Okay. But the point is, if you go, you're going to look at, I don't know where I'd have to stop Nikita Kucherov, Braden Point, others, Crosby. So the guys who have the puck the most are all your best players, which shouldn't surprise anybody. Yet there's still people out there. You can't have different rules for the superstars. Well, what are you talking about? That's exactly what they have right now. They have different rules for the superstars because the superstars have to deal with more hooking, holding, slashing, stick work than anybody else because they have the puck the most. So when it's hilarious to me when people say you can't have a different rule book for the superstar, but that's exactly what they're doing. They have a different rule book. It's basically, I talked to players today who don't want to go on record and they're like, I know the refs aren't going to call it. So the odds is like they'll call 1 in 4 or 5. 1 in 4 or 5. So you're a player like, you know what? 80% of the time, I'm going to get away with it. Those are great odds. If you were at playalberta.ca, you'd be like, sign me up. I got an 80% chance of success. Hell, if you're a hitter in baseball, you're the greatest hitter of all time at 80%. So think about that for a second. Players know I can hook, I can dig in a little bit. 4 out of 5 is not going to get called. That's awful. That's absolutely awful. Now, I don't know if it's actually that high in reality, but heck, if it's 3 out of 5, still not good enough. So there currently, I believe, is a different status for those who have the puck the most. The numbers back it up, right? The fact that in 3 years, so in the year 2022, there was an average of 2.89 power plays per team. This year, it's 2.8. So a marginal difference, right? Marginal difference. 2.89 to 2.8. That's not a lot, okay? In that exact same time, Connor McDavid, Nathan McKinnon, I think we'd agree the 2 fastest skaters in the NHL, especially with a puck on their stick. They went from drawing 90 penalties at 2.89 penalties per game to now down to on pace for 47 at 2.8. So we've seen a small reduction overall and a massive reduction of almost 50% from the 2 top guys. And yet there's still some people out there that will try to tell you, McDavid got away. Like you have some like our Canucks fans, like I honestly, there's a few, 95% of Oilers fans, great. There's a few idiots. Canucks fans, it's a much higher percentage. They're trying to tell you that McDavid was spearing Hronek. What? Watch the replay. He's skating in on him. His stick gets up on the stick. Hronek lifts his stick. Now McDavid's stick rides up and touches him in the chest. And they think that's a penalty. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, my God. Did McDavid get away with a penalty against Johansson? 100%. Which we said on the show. Should have been a penalty. Minor penalty. Nothing more. Because every elbowing penalty is to the head. And they're not all fine and they're not all suspendable. Okay? That's just normally where you elbow someone. So, he got away with one. That's fine. It happens. Now, how many guys get away with one on McDavid? That's the point. On McKinnon. On Austin Matthews. Look how few penalties Austin Matthews draws. And you can go down the list. Kucherov, Leon Draisaitl, etc. All the guys who have the puck the most, yet they're not ranked anywhere near the top of penalties drawn per 60 at all. So hopefully it changes. I'm not a believer that it will, but I just don't, I don't think it's going to change until you would need McDavid and a lot of other players to speak out. All right. Hey, Gregor, it seems George Parros is compensating for his lack of skill and enabling his class appears to be successful in the league at the expense of the league's exceptional players. As an American, Parros is the exact opposite of so-called American exceptionalism. David. Well, David, I think you're trying to find a scapegoat, so you want to blame one person. George Parros is not the do-all, end-all decider. He's not the only one. There's actually a group of them in the Department of Player Safety. But Department of Player Safety doesn't oversee the officials. It comes above. And to me, it stops at your commissioner. Commissioners never won. Go look at what Goodell says about the rule changes in the NFL the last few years, which have been about improving offense, protecting their key players. I don't even say stars because not every quarterback's a star. Key position. That's what they do. And they've done it. So I look at the NHL. I don't even want them to change the rules. They don't need to change the rules. Just enforce the rule book. That's all I'm asking. Just enforce the rule book and see what happens. So, hey, Gregor, the NHL has that. It's a different rule for goalies. Mitchell. Well, no, it isn't Mitchell. Ask Stuart Skinner. How many times has he been hit this year? How many penalties getting called on him? So you've texted that in 3 days in a row. It doesn't change that it's incorrect every time you text it in. Stuart Skinner's been hit. Lots. And he's had the one call on Zadorov. That's it. So, which fits with my exact number that the defenseman told me about skilled forwards. 1 out of 5. So your goalie gets hit. How many times? 5? How many have been a penalty? 1. So it's actually no different. Right? And you can still go to the net. There's still contact on goalies. Not everyone's called, which is fine. Guys are allowed to go to the net. Now, if they cut through the crease, some will say it's a little bit different. So, hey, Gregor, what about Garland's butt end in McDavid's mouth? There was no butt end in his face, man. You're starting to look for things that weren't there. I've watched that sequence numerous times. Like, Garland should have had a minor penalty, nothing more. Let's not try to make it more than it was. I hear some people say, well, even if they would have called it, it would have, wouldn't have resulted in that. But keep in mind, when that play started and the Oilers have the puck, if they see that the official is going to call a penalty right, that his arm goes up, do you take a quicker shot on goal to get the whistle and say, let's go 6-on-4 for 15 seconds? I don't know the answer. Guaranteed, but I think there's a pretty good chance they would have done it. We see a lot of teams 5-on-4, ref's hand goes up. Oh, let's hand him the puck. So now we have a longer 5-on-3, right? So you don't think they'd hand him the puck to have a longer 6-on-4? Right? They very much could have done it. And if the official raises his arm, does then McDavid not get as frustrated? I don't know. Again, I don't know for sure, but he might. We'll see. But the point is, it's not one call. It's not just one call. It's a combination of all the calls. And that's why I use McDavid and McKinnon. I could go down the list, Draisaitl, Kucherov. So the league has seen a minimal decrease in power play opportunities per game, but a maximum increase in the reduction of penalties called against the superstars. Make it make sense. Quick break. We'll return to the Gregor Show presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Hockey is back, and Play Alberta, Alberta's #1 sportsbook and official partner of the Edmonton Oilers, has you covered with bigger offers, boosted odds, live betting, player props, and more. New to Play Alberta? New players now receive $200 in free bets just for signing up. You already play? Get a $10 free bet for every $100 you bet every week all season long. Visit playalberta.ca and make your picks today. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
When picking a New Year's resolution, try to avoid things you have no influence over.
Like bringing home the cup? That would be awesome.
But completely outside your control. Instead, pick something you can control, like bringing home some Wilhauk beef jerky.
That would also be awesome. But what if we brought the cup home to Canada and it was filled with Wilhauk beef jerky?
Okay, I'll allow it.
Wilhauk beef jerky, only available in Leduc. Get yours today, because you don't win cups with salad.
Silent Ice Sports and Entertainment is an innovative market leader across Western Canada, with sports and entertainment properties including the Spruce Grove Saints, the Junior Prospects Hockey League, Silent Rides Charter Company, the Hockey Super League, and the newly launched Female Super League. Silent Ice also owns the Western Hockey League Seattle Thunderbirds and operates the Morinville AAA Arena. The Silent Ice Center, a new state-of-the-art entertainment facility, is open in Nisku, which features 2 sheets of ice, including a 1,600-seat arena and a restaurant with a viewing area.
Some might like to play hide and seek or even that Where's Waldo game. But out of sight, out of mind is never something GS Construction ever says. Yes, what's underground might be out of sight for everyone, but it's never out of mind for GS Construction because it's not fun and games ensuring Edmonton's underground infrastructure works for you. We take our job very seriously, and even though we may look like we're pretending to be groundhogs, we're really keeping things running smoothly. To find out more, including new job opportunities, visit gsconstruction.ca.
Portions of this hour brought to you by On the Rocks. Watch every Oilers game at OTR with $5.25 Molson Canadian, $5 Pink Whitney shots, 60-cent wings, plus play Oilers score and win for your chance to win On the Rocks gift cards. Oilers hockey at OTR. Book your table today. Jasper Ave in 118th.
The best of Edmonton sports talk and beyond. This is Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
.228. Welcome back. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X. It is game day. Also tonight, Lotto Max, $60 million. Good luck. Get your tickets at playalberta.ca. As we're going to get to Around the NHL, brought to you by McDonald's. And, you know what, maybe to... as he's frustrated because he'll have a little extra time to work out. Will McDavid have the Big Mac David, the double Big Mac, available for a limited time right now at McDonald's? Maybe. Who knows? Maybe he likes a triple cheeseburger. The poutine fries with bacon. Never know. But you can like it. You can try it right now at McDonald's. The best team in the NHL, the Washington Capitals, who have been the best team pretty much. It's not like they're just on a heater all of a sudden. They have been at the top of the NHL really from the start of the season. They lead the NHL in goals against at 2.43 per game. Their offense, I'll say this. It's an offense that is very efficient. And also the second highest scoring offense in the NHL. But they lead the league in 107 5-on-5 goals, despite ranking 25th in shots per 60. They have 962 shots, 107 goals. The Oilers have 1,202 shots 5-on-5. They have 100 goals. The Oilers are 25th in shooting percentage. The Capitals are first at just over 11 collectively as a team. And you know what? Maybe a little bit lucky, sure, but they go to the net. Their top lines, they spread it out very well. And a gentleman who's been watching them light it up and not give up much goals against pretty much all season long. Joe Beninati, the voice of the Capitals, joins us. Joe, how you doing?
Jason, I'm doing great. I'm looking forward to this game. You got two top five teams in the NHL squaring off. Should be fun.
It should be good. It's obviously, it's unfortunate McDavid's not in because best on best would have been great. Let's just call a spade. But as Alex Ovechkin wisely said, well, good for us because he's suspended because, hey, your odds obviously go up when you don't have to face off McDavid. But I want to talk about the Capitals' efficiency at 5-on-5. And are they efficient because, they have a lot of traffic in front and so goalies can't see the shots? Are they a team that just doesn't put pucks on net for the sake of putting pucks on net and waits to set things up? Why such a high shooting percentage 5-on-5?
Yeah, I heard you detail that, and I understand that their shooting percentage is probably unsustainable, but I said that 2 months ago, and they've sustained it. And the thing is that they've done a much better job this season compared to last. Getting to the interior, Jason. They are not a perimeter team.
Yeah.
For many, many years in their high-flying era, they were a perimeter team. This one gets its nose dirty. This one gets to the heart of good defenses and gets those, from an analytical standpoint, those dangerous high inner slot chances, and they bury them. And that's been part of their secret to success. You itemized a lot of the reasons why they're doing so well, but with regard to 5-on-5, they manage to find their way to get it to the interior. And when they do, they don't need very many shots to convert.
They are a huge team. Like,
Yeah.
That Protas, Dubois, Wilson line is massive. And you look at the Capitals, they've been able to retool. They got a little bit lucky because you had some veterans in Backstrom and Oshie who unfortunately their career ends, where maybe they weren't going to give you great value on their cap hit, but they go on LTR and then they're able to replace them through some very good trades and some really good signs. Like Protas is a third rounder who's now a top 6 forward for you. That's a steal all day long, and he's only getting better.
He's fantastic, and I understand his brother may be even better. and the Caps have already drafted his brother, who's only 1 inch shorter than the 6'6" Alexei.
Yeah.
Protas is one of those guys who has found a way to take off this year. He and McMichael did early in the season, and that's continued. They had another one. They had Hendrix Lapierre, who was the American Hockey League's playoff MVP. They were crossing their fingers that all 3 of those guys could blossom at once. They hit on 2 out of 3, and I think Lapierre is still very much in the mix for a center spot in the future. But you mentioned that line, Protas and Dubois and Wilson, and you mentioned the guys they brought in the offseason, Brian McClellan, Chris Patrick, 7 different players, all of whom were under 30, and all of whom move well. So all of a sudden, I handed it to Spencer Carberry last year in the middle of the season, Jason. He made a course correction, realized he didn't have the horses to do what he wanted to do in terms of schematics, and they still got into the playoffs. This year, he's got the horses, and you're seeing the results of it. I don't even think they're playing their best right now. And it's often said about good teams, great teams, that they win even when they're not playing extremely well. I would say the Caps right now are in a little bit of a January lull, and yet still with a lot of help from some outstanding goaltending from Logan Thompson and from times bulletproof defense. They've been able to win games they probably don't deserve, but that size and strength and speed is very, very apparent. And when it comes to Pierre-Luc Dubois, he has taken it upon himself to ask the coaching staff for the toughest defensive assignment. I'm anxious to see how he fares tonight against Leon. That's going to be a great head-up one-on-one matchup.
Joe, when you look at the defense, how has Sandin handled top minutes on the blue line?
Very well. The short answer is very well. Much improved from a season ago. And you would think at Rasmus's size that he could be pushed around a bit. I don't see that happening. He's been sturdy in the defensive zone. All of Washington's defenders are decent to above average puck movers. That's the other thing. You point to the goals against average being very low. They don't spend very much time in the defensive end. They get up and go. And Rasmus has that in him. That's been in his DNA from the get-go back to Toronto days. He's been much more solid 5-on-5 and in penalty killing postures and all those good things. He's been much more solid this year compared to last. And they only see him growing and developing more and more. He's getting more and more ice time paired up with John Carlson, and they don't have to shrink. They don't have to hide him at all.
Okay. When you look at their lineup, it seems if there's one area they might want some improvement would be third line scoring. And you look at their depth team, they don't have to take big swing, but do you look for them to add, a real quality third line player?
I think that's the right way to look. And that's no disrespect to Taylor Radish, who's playing there. And I think Taylor will be ultimately with Duhaime, Dowd, and Radish. Mangiapane's the guy you bump up there just to try and look for a spark here and there. Andrews' production has been good, not great, but he has had sparkling signs of, wow, he can do this and bring that. It hasn't been as consistent, but putting him down to a fourth line role has worked and clicked with Duhaime and Dowd. To me, Duhaime, Dowd, Radish is your fourth line come playoff time.
Okay.
Now you're talking about third line scoring. That's where Manja goes. Lars Eller, I know, can play better than what he's bringing right now. And I think he's building back up to speed after an illness. And then Ethan Frank's been a spark. Ethan is an American Hockey League All-Star, a bona fide 20-30 goal scorer at that level. He brings elite speed, and we've seen him contribute a little bit right off the jump in his first couple of weeks as an NHL pro. Let's see where he can go from there and see if that's still an area of need. But I think, Jason, you're on the right target. That's probably where they're looking.
Joe Beninati joins us. The Capitals in town tonight come in first place team in the National Hockey League. Very good in all facets, 5-on-5 scoring, goals for, goals against, power play, penalty kill. They're all very good. Joe, when I look at their team, I don't see a lot of weaknesses at all. They've been pretty consistent from start to finish. You know, they're not an old team, right? As you mentioned, a lot of the guys they brought in were younger. How has Dubois fit in Washington?
Perfectly. In Spencer Carberry's words, seamlessly. There has not been any signs of what we had heard from Los Angeles or from Winnipeg. None of it. He's not scoring the amount of goals that I thought he might. I thought he might threaten high 20s, 30. In fact, I know he's been a high 20 goal scorer in the past. His playmaking's been excellent. And I've mentioned to you, defensively, two-way wise, I hope he's a Selke Award candidate. He has asked for the assignments against McKinnon, against Barkov, against Matthews. I'm sure, I would imagine, again, you're on the road, so I don't know if Spencer gets his wish, but either way, if Edmonton had 97 and 29, I'm sure Dubois would have had one of those.
Yeah.
And I was looking forward to it. Trust me, I'm a hockey fan. I wish 97 was playing tonight.
Yeah,
we don't get to see him enough, and I think the suspension was a little bit too heavy, but that's for another day. But Dubois has been so good in a two-way capacity. I'm anxious to see if he does get a chance to latch on to Leon, how he does. We know how tremendous Draisaitl is.
Yeah, well, Draisaitl probably right now, I think, is the leader in the Hart Trophy race, which says a lot when you can be the MVP on your team and McDavid's your teammate. Draisaitl,
that's pretty damn good.
Yeah,
pretty damn good.
Draisaitl has been that good in all facets of his game. Speaking of good, Alex Ovechkin is 21 goals shy of the goal scoring record that a decade ago people thought wasn't possible. And to me, that makes it amazing. Throw in the fact that he's got 21 goals in 30 games this season. Got injured, had the fractured leg, bone wherever it was in his leg, comes back and really hasn't missed a beat. Now he's changed. This isn't the young Alex Ovechkin who used to, score 50 goals and have 200 plus hits and run around all over the ice. He's obviously, changed his game a little bit. We don't see the bursts as much from Ovi as we did in the past, but his ability to score at this rate. And can you kind of put in perspective how the team is playing well? And he talked today how, it's exciting when you're in a chase like this and the team's playing great, but how much of the chase is motivating his teammates? Because I got to think we're winning. That's super fun, but we're watching history unfold as a teammate, and that's got to be fairly amazing.
I don't think it's heavy-handed either way, though, Jason. I don't think that Alex is spending a lot of time thinking about, I need 21 more. I don't think he is. More than anything, when I see Alex come to work every day, it's how can this team be better and how can I contribute? And Spencer Carberry will sit there and tell you that his main goal or his goal for Ovechkin is to put Alex somehow, some way to find a place where he can flourish. And what Ovechkin has been this season prior to the injury was amazing. He had turned the clock back a little bit. He was skating extremely well, and that shot will never leave him. After the injury and the time since that he's been back, I think he has shown the ability to be more opportunistic than ever. He does not take your breath away with up ice rushes anymore. He's not going to, you mentioned it, throw 10 hits a game. I think that's self-preservation. But what he is still an extremely intelligent offensive player who knows where to be, when to be there, and when he gets there, he does damage. And that shot never goes away. For a perfect example, the 0-0 game with Ottawa, Alex was barely a threat in that game. That's a track meet team. The Senators can really go up and down the ice.
Yep.
It's not the greatest matchup for number 8, but all of a sudden in overtime in a 3-on-3 capacity, he's in the right spot with Rasmus on a 2-on-1, and he buries it. He's been opportunistic that way. I don't know if he can continue to score at that rate to catch Wayne this year, but He's got another year on that deal. He's going to get there. I'm knocking on wood as I say that. With good health, he will get there. It would be remarkable if he does it this year at age 39 and stays as hot as he can. You talked about the percentage of goals per game. That's so unrealistic. But then again, for 20 years, this guy has proven that he can do some things that not many normal humans can.
No, not at all. And when you look at matchups for Washington, like New Jersey seems like a great matchup for them. You talk about Ottawa. Are there any other teams that have given the Caps trouble? Like if you look at the Caps are obviously a playoff team and, they look like they're going to win the division. They got over a 10-point lead. So now it'll be a race. Do they finish first? Do they get the number 1 wild card or the number 2 wild card team? Of the Rangers, the Senators, the Blue Jackets, like even Ottawa, I'd be like, oh, come on, I'm still going to roll the dice with Washington. But as we saw last year, ask Winnipeg, matchups do matter in the playoffs, maybe more than what a regular season record is. Do you see a team that might give Washington more trouble than we think?
Boston. If Boston is in a wild card capacity, to me, that would stand out. They are often threatening to the Caps. They have been in seasons past, although I think Washington has done fairly well at TD Garden in that sense. The Caps have been a really good road team this season, the last couple of seasons, in fact. Ottawa, to me, is a threat. If Ottawa is in there in that wild card situation, if the Caps are the top seed coming out of the Metro, the top seed in the East, if Ottawa's there, that's a speed component that, again, Washington is not the fastest team in the league, Jason. They play fast, but they don't have I don't think they have the same wheels Ottawa does, Jersey does, Carolina does. Those teams can overwhelm with speed, but this version of the Caps compared to last does play faster. The puck moves faster, so the game is played faster. But to me, it might be those two teams out of the Atlantic. It might be Boston. It might be Ottawa that would give you pause. Columbus is another team, again, on the rise. If they were to stay inside the Metro for if they were getting a wild card matchup, to me, that would be another one that could be interesting too. Dean Evason's team has been impressive in a couple of instances. It's weird. They've already played, Jason, the Devils 4 times.
Yep.
Did before the end of November. A couple of really high scoring games. That would be a wild series should they get there, but who knows? We're still so far away.
Yeah. Well, it will be fantastic. It's unfortunate no McDavid tonight, but still should be a heck of a game. Capitals and the Oilers. Joe, have a great call. Appreciate your time.
Hey, anytime. Thanks for giving us a buzz.
There you go. That's Joe Beninati joining us from Washington, the Capitals, and the Oilers. And hey, as I said, Capital people are just, yeah, man, I want to see McDavid in the lineup. Of course you do. Unfortunately, you won't see him for 3 games this week. He'll be back next Monday against Le Kraken. We'll come back, and we are talking playoffs, baby, and matchups, how important they are next on the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Bimmy and Donnan Hockey are dedicated to skill development for all hockey players. If you know a student athlete interested in growing as a person and a player, attend the Donnan Open House on January 23rd from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Beginner or experienced, this program nurtures and develops a student athlete's skills in a supportive environment. The Donnan Open House is a great opportunity for prospective student athletes entering grades 3 through 6 to see what Donnan Hockey and all the other sport academies at Donnan have to offer. Visit donnan.epsb.ca for more info.
Mr. Rooter makes a prank phone call.
It's ringing.
Hello?
Hello there. Is your faucet running?
Yeah, actually it is. I have this really annoying drip.
Oh, you'll want to check for mineral buildup or corrosion. Otherwise, it's likely an defective gasket or O-ring. I got him good.
Mr. Rooter, you're the worst at this.
For lousy punchlines and immaculate water lines, trust one plumber, Mr. Rooter.
You don't know what awaits you on the road to come, but with the 2025 XC90 from Volvo of Edmonton, you'll have the versatility to take on whatever life throws at you. The new XC90, a luxurious SUV with seating for up to 7, boasts newly upgraded body and wheel design. It's the perfect choice to drive into the coming year. And right now, you'll save Save $4,500 and lease from 1.49% on all in-stock 2025 XC90s. Volvo Cars Edmonton. VolvoCarsEdmonton.com, 1205 101 Street Southwest.
Attention drivers, it's the midwinter tire clearance sale at Fountain Tire. Right now, you can save up to 20% off all in-stock winter tires. That's right, premium brands, unbeatable safety, and incredible savings. But don't wait, this sale ends March 8th. And once they're gone, they're gone. Contact your local Fountain Tire for complete details.
Hey, sports fans, we've got a clear choice for you. At Crystal Glass, we provide customers with the perfect glass for any job. From home to auto and even commercial, installation or repairs, we're your team. Call 310 Glass or visit crystalglass.ca. Crystal Glass.
At Hughes, it's all about getting in and out quick and clean. No cash, no problem. With Hughes' new tap and wash system, all you need is your debit or credit card to get your vehicle sparkling clean.
Find us at HughesCarWash.com.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Cantork. We offer sale, rental, repair, and calibration of hydraulic, pneumatic, and battery-powered torque wrenches, stud tensioners, and flange maintenance equipment. Order today at Cantork.com.
The Jason Gregor Show, the best of Edmonton sports talk and beyond. This is Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
.248 game day, Tuesday afternoon. Also, Lotto Max, $60 million up for grabs. Good luck. Get your tickets at playalberta.ca as we get to our football report brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling. Home with no payments, no interest for 1 year on your furnace. Stay warm all winter at legacyheating.ca. And of course, hey, some big games this week in the National Hockey League, including the two top teams, Oilers and the Canucks going at it, Capitals and the Oilers going at it tonight. Canucks and Oilers are on Thursday. And the lead up, we're into the AFC and the NFC championship games. You have the Chiefs hosting the Bills once again. And then you have a matchup that at the start of the season, I think if you would have polled people, a lot of people would have had one of these teams in. But I don't think anybody would have had the Washington Commanders in, but they are, and full marks. They are deserving of being in. I don't think there's any question about that. Jaden Daniels and that offense, they're fun to watch. The Eagles and their offense, no one can run the ball better. They got the best offensive line in the NFL. I don't really think it's particularly close, to be honest. So how's that matchup going to look? Chris Franklin joined us, Eagles reporter from NJ.com. Chris, welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
Doing great. And you're right. If anybody had the Commanders with the Eagles going there, I think they should go for that $60 million jackpot tonight. Probably feeling good.
Oh, yeah, 100%. So if we look at let's start with the offensive line, because as great as Saquon Barkley is, I saw a stat that says Barkley leads the NFL 2.7 yards before contact. So you get a guy like that who's very elusive, and he can get upfield and speed with beat. Now, sometimes he dekes guys out, I get it, but lots of times that's on the O-line. Is this O-line better than last year's?
It's tough to say. It's hard to say, but yeah, I think so. I think they got bigger in terms of Mekhi Becton being on there now, coming from over from the Jets. So I thought that was huge. And you're right. When you look at the 2.7 yards before contact, they're just mauling people and getting a lot of space. And I'm sure Barkley appreciates that, being with the Giants, that it seemed like 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage, he was already trying to juke or trying to elude somebody as well, too. So you look at the way that they're athletic, they're able to get 2 blocks. Sometimes you look at Jordan Mailata or Lane Johnson, even Cam Jurgens, the center, able to get 2 blocks 5 yards down the field, and they're able to open those lanes up. It's one of the reasons why Barkley had 2,000 rushing yards in the regular season.
Yeah. And then 200 rushing yards in a playoff game, which is pretty impressive. But, defensively, Jaden Daniels presents a lot of challenges. And now he's a young player, and so far hasn't really shown much nervousness. He goes into Detroit. Now, I know their defense is banged up, but still, you're on the road. You put up 45 points in a playoff game, Chris, like as a rookie. I think him and Joe Flacco are the only two rookie quarterbacks to take their team to a conference final. So I look at him and, the Eagles, obviously, they're in the division. They know him. How do you think they game plan to contain him specifically?
You're going to mix up the looks for sure because Terry McLaurin is still a dangerous threat as a receiver. De'Ami Brown's still a dangerous threat as another receiver. And you got Zach Ertz. So it's not like they can put like 8 guys up in a box and say, okay, you're not going to use that gun run game and try to beat us that way. They're going to have to vary the pass rush looks as well, too. And I asked Vic Fangio earlier today, do you try to mush rush? I mean, he says it's a fine line because not only do you try to slow him down and make sure he doesn't break that contain, but you also lose some aggressiveness and it doesn't help you out in the back end because this guy's going to hurt you a little bit as well too. So it's a tough thing. Vic doesn't like to blitz them as much. I wouldn't be surprised if they do that a couple of times, but we've seen Jaden Daniels. You mentioned poise. He's shown that poise is to remain in the pocket and is able to effectively elude the rush and still find these guys downfield. It's a tough prospect to look at in terms of that. And I think one other thing the Commanders might try to do as well, too, you don't want that defensive line coming after you. So they might try the quick game, slants, screens, something out to get the ball out quickly and try to frustrate this Eagles defensive line.
I know it's only Tuesday, but what is the weather projection for Sunday?
Well, for us, barring what it's been like this way, we're going to be on warm streak of around 40 degrees. But
wow.
We after this last couple of days, I shouldn't be complaining to you guys. You guys are used to it, but yeah, it's no snow games as of right now, so we don't have to see that cinematic quality of stuff in the NFL films where they were doing. But it should be enough that you'll just see these teams at their peak. You don't have to worry about changing your game plan in the fourth quarter because it's snowy and everything is blown around. There's no traction or what have you. So as of now, and hopefully it stays that way, we should be good to go in terms of that.
When you look at the Eagles, and as great as their run attack is there concerns about their passing game? And maybe specifically A.J. Brown in the last few performances in the playoffs?
I think there is. There are some concerns, and it's to the point where you just need to get in a rhythm. And it's weird thing. Like, it's not so much A.J. Brown had those drops in that last game, and it was rough because one of them could have been a touchdown. But it's also been instances where he's been open, Dallas Goedert's been open, Devontae Smith's been open, and has been either Jalen Hurts holding the ball too long, or there's a defender coming in and disrupt his timing. So there's a lot of factors. It's hard. You can't pin it on one person per se, but it's enough that if one thing here and there is trying to slow it down. This offense has shown is capable of putting up there. I mean, you look at what they did against the Steelers, put Jalen Hurts threw for 290 yards, and it was good. It looked like Jalen Hurts was starting to do that in Commanders in the second game before he left for that concussion. So they have the pieces. I want to see offensive coordinator Kellen Moore try to vary what he's done. He can't be just like, okay, curl, out, slants, what have you. Vary it up a little bit. Try to get Jalen Hurts in a rhythm, and especially with Hurts with that knee injury. You don't want to try to put him in too much harm's way with too many design runs. You're going to need it, but you're going to need that passing game to really flourish and protect them as well.
Looking ahead to Sunday's NFC matchup, Chris Franklin joins us from NJ.com. And Chris, obviously, I know you cover the Eagles, and in that division, you're also looking over the Giants. And it's funny because I've seen a lot of Giants fans are upset. But Saquon Barkley wouldn't have done this in New York because of the offensive line. Number one, and number two, let's say he played there and played great. He probably would have finished with 1,100 yards, and the Giants would be picking 9th instead of in the top 3, right? Like he would be better there, but as good as he is, he's just one part of a really good team. Is that fair?
It's fair. He also is making things good. You also see the impact as well, too. He's not the only running back that left that you're seeing these teams. All those teams, like when you look at Josh Jacobs, when you look at Saquon Barkley, all these teams that lost these running backs, look where they're at now. They're picking early in the draft, and you look at the teams that were able to do that. Barkley has really made a substantial impact. One of the things where the Eagles are very much thanking him in terms of that, because now he affects the passing and the run game to the point where you have him back there. You can't put 8 or 9 guys in the box because when the passing game is going, you got Brown and Smith on the outside, Goddard in the middle. If you leave it back there, you try to go too high, like, I don't want these guys to beat us close. Well, then you see him starting to rip off these runs. And also the fact with him and Jalen Hurts there, I think when you do run Jalen Hurts, you can get the outside on his own read. It makes it really tough. So just one person adding him to this piece with the rest of the other pieces on his offense really opens things up. And I think, we've heard so much that running backs didn't have a lot of value heading into this offseason before they signed them. They're proving that very, very wrong. And you're seeing the fruits of their taking a risk and when they signed them.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say, right? Like the running back position, I don't know if there's a marquee position in sport that has been downgraded as much as the running back position in the last decade, right? And just kind of how they view them, but they are still super important. They just don't get paid nearly as much as they used to. So it's a tough. You take a pounding. You're still very important, but they just recycle you quicker than they used to. And obviously, I know they use some guys who are third down backs, etc. But it's funny. The teams that are dominant usually, you have that one marquee back like they do in Philadelphia, and he can make a huge difference. If you're Washington and, you've seen them against the Eagles, of course, everybody tries to take away the run, Chris. It's Captain Obvious statement. Hey, guys, let's try to take away the run. It really hasn't worked. So if you try to contain it, then how have defenses been successful? What have they done to disrupt the Eagles when they do go into pass formation?
It's really, a lot of times it's trying to change the puzzle and trying to confuse Hurts in terms of that in coverage. A lot of times they'll slant the coverage over the Brown side, and you're really looking for Smith to take off and do that. A lot of times they've taken away that middle of the field too. When the Eagles pass game is really successful, it's the intermediate areas of that passing attack. It's not so much the deep pass. They do it sometimes just to stretch the safeties back where you're getting 30, 40 yards in those go balls. It's really that 10 to 20 yard range where they try to really attack you and keep those drives going. And you look at Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louisville. I think this is a game where the Commanders linebackers are really going to have important. You're like, wait, a passing game? Why are the linebackers really doing that? Well, I think to look at the way when it's really going, Hurts feels comfortable getting in that little area. So if they don't over pursue, and you look at Bobby Wagner, a little older now. We remember his years when he was with the Seattle Seahawks, but he's still effective. But what teams have been doing during the postseason, he's been attacked a lot in that passing game. I think it's almost like 8. He's been targeted 11 times. He's given up 8 catches for 100 yards. So I wouldn't be surprised if they try to use Goddard. But Louisville and Wagner will need to step up for the Commanders if they want to stop that passing game along with that run game.
Quickly, give me your thoughts on Chiefs-Bills. What can the Bills do to end their agony in KC, at least in the playoffs?
They had the blueprint to beat them the first time, and I'm looking at the way Josh Allen needs to be Josh Allen, not play too much hero ball and try to force a lot of turnovers. And I think when you look at that Bills defense, it's about outlasting them and surviving that. Don't try to put yourselves in too many situations where you try to hit Mahomes a little high, because we see him get the propensity of getting those calls too. So I look for the Bills have to play mistake-free, penalty-free ball and just play within their system. And I actually think they win that game in Arrowhead.
Awesome. Well, Chris, should be a great weekend of football. Really appreciate your time.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me on.
You betcha. That is Chris Franklin from NJ.com talking about the Eagles. I think that's going to be a very exciting game. The Washington Commanders are clearly the underdog. Can they slow down the rush attack? Because it's really hard, because they got the best offensive line in football in Philly. And you see it every week. That makes Saquon Barkley's job so much easier. And, of course, same with Jalen Hurts. We'll return. TR is back. We got Dave McCarthy. We'll get to Ryan's rant, Struddy, and much, much more. But first, let's get to the Con Man of Sports 1440 update, brought to you by Fountain Tire. Stop in right now for the mid-winter tire clearance, where you can get 20% off all in-stock tires, premium brands, unbeatable safety, and incredible savings. Right now, fountaintire.com.
This is a Sports 1440 update.
Game day, Edmonton Oilers in action tonight. Taking on the Washington Capitals. Puck drop 7 o'clock. We've got pregame coverage for you here on Sports 1440 with myself and Donovan Paulson getting going at 6. Elsewhere, Ducks host the Panthers. Sabres in Vancouver. Stars taking on the Hurricanes. Sharks up against the Preds. Flyers host the Wings. Sens in New York to meet the Rangers. And the Canadians hosting the Lightning in the association. The Raptors taking on the Magic. That'll get going just after 5:30. You also have the Knicks in Brooklyn. Heat host the Trailblazers. Sixers taking on the Nuggets. And the Lakers hosting the Washington Wizards. In the AJ, Bonneville hosting Grand Prairie, while Cameras has been Olds. Both games get going at 7 o'clock. The PWHL has the Ottawa Charge in Minnesota taking on the Frost. That'll get going at 5 o'clock. And speaking with Minnesota, the Vikings and head coach Kevin O'Connell agreeing to terms on a multi-year contract extension. The 39-year-old has produced a 34-17 overall record with a pair of playoff appearances. Coming up in hour 2 of the Jason Gregor Show, we'll be joined by our co-host, former NHLer Terry Ryan. Also, we'll go around the NHL with Sirius XM's Dave McCarthy. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
Sports 1440, a Stingray radio station broadcasting on Treaty 6 territory.
Download the free iHeartRadio app and listen to CKJR wherever you go.
Noodle, 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 noodle. Noodle, 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 noodle. Noodle, 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 noodle. Trouble low down to Oodle Noodle tonight because dine-in is open.
You've got a go-to coffee spot, a trusted barber, even a lucky game day jersey. But when it's about looking your absolute best, there's only one name you need. Mr. Dirk. Family run since 1939. We're experts in crafting impeccable tailor-made suits and offering a wide variety of everyday styles. Pair that with personalized one-on-one fittings and the convenience of on-site tailoring. Mr. Dirk elevates your style game. Visit our Edmonton store or explore MrDirk.com. Score big on style with Mr. Dirk.
McDonald's presents a hockey showdown like never before. McDavid versus Matthews. There can only be one winner, competing for all the glory and all the prize. The new menu features top shelf plays like the Smoky Quarter Poppy and the Big Mac David, so everybody scores, with even more delicious options like the Spicy Junior Chirpy. Now that calls for a silly Sunday. The Showdown menu, now available at McDonald's.
Scott McGilvery here, HGTV host and renovation expert. The one upgrade I know homeowners will love: better, fresher Culligan water straight from the tap. Culligan's Aquasential reverse osmosis filtration system takes your water to the next level. With up to 7 stages of filtration and 14 filter options, they're certified to reduce over 90 contaminants. Your tap water is about to get a major upgrade: safer water that tastes great. Get started with a free in-home water test at Culligan.com. Culligan, water you love.
Excavators, loaders, lifts, compaction equipment, and more. Find the XCMG construction equipment you need. Available for rental or sale at Japa Machinery Group. Japa, helping build Alberta from the ground up for 50 years. Visit japamachinery.com.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Culligan. For all your residential water needs, your local water treatment company. More than just big bottles, Culligan.com.
The Jason Gregor Show, the best of Edmonton sports talk and beyond. This is Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Just after 3 o'clock, it is game day on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X, of course, sports1440.ca. If you drive around out of the local radio dial, guess what? You get the app, iHeartRadio, Radio Player, Stingray, and you can take us wherever you go. I know many of you walkers love it. You're out for a walk. You got the earbuds in, you're listening. So hello, fellow walkers. Enjoy the walk. Nice day today. Took the pup out for a walk. Fantastic. I always find days better if you get outside for a little bit of a marsh. So hopefully you can get in one. 833-401-1440. I'll take your text, 833-401-1440 in our inbox. Let's welcome into the show two-time author. He is going to be on season 4, coming out later this week, in 3 days, in fact. For Shorzy, former NHLer. He's in the Hall of Fame in Newfoundland. Terry Ryan joins us. TR. Now, TR, have you had the ceremony? Did you get inducted? I know they got announced you were going in. Did you have the actual ceremony to go in?
Yeah, it was great. It was a good time. It was in Gander. Those who know Newfoundland, Gander's pretty central. It is central. It's considered central Newfoundland, about a 3-hour drive from St. John's. I went in with my dad and my good buddy. I drove in with my dad and my good buddy Connor Donahue, and was inducted with one of my best friends in hockey, Ray Dalton. And so it was honestly, provincial stuff. A lot of people, I guess they don't realize, I guess, how important it can be province to province, because, a lot of people don't know a lot about Newfoundland. I don't know a lot about, say, the Saskatchewan sports history, but I respect it, but I just don't hear much about it. Same sort of thing. In our little world within a world, it was a huge honor, because growing up, that was really my realistic dream, was to be like, I knew all the, I don't know if I had a specific dream. I knew all the local players as much as I knew the NHL players, and I didn't know what the difference was. I was like, these guys are playing locally. And so honestly, most of the people in our local version, local being Newfoundland, are people that might not be common household names anywhere, although some are. Many more are every year now as we go. But a lot of them mean a lot to me, but just as much as my hockey heroes.
Yeah, I know. And you know what? Anytime you get into Eddie Hall of Fame, I think it's a big deal. So would have been good. Now, do you get do you have a plaque? Do you have anything? Like, what do you get as a keepsake?
Yeah, not only do I have a plaque and a nice trophy, and there's a version of the Newfoundland Hockey Hall of Fame, like in a room in an arena in the Pepsi Center in Corner Brook. And it's, it's got each name, like, the name and your picture up on the wall, and gives you a little write-up, and then there's a what do you call it? There's a file folder that you can, for lack of a better way to put it, search up, and there's a write-up on everybody, and then they got the online version. They got my jersey, my stick in there, my dad's jersey from the Minnesota Fighting Saints. They got local stuff. It's really, honestly, it'll give you goosebumps walking in if you didn't even know. Newfoundland takes their hockey history very seriously. The Herder Championship is our Newfoundland senior hockey championship, and that goes back at least 100 years. It's just it's something that every year, and the league, it goes in cycles. Sometimes COVID knocked back the imports a little bit, although we're still going to the Allen Cup final every year. But there's a whole world within a world. Go back. The St. Bon's Forum was the small little rink. Still, I think it's the third oldest arena in North America. At least it says that on Twitter. And it's tiny. It's a tiny little matchbox of an arena, but it's got so much history, and there's a lot of people that take. Jason, for a while, not that you asked, but to get around to kind of explain what I'm talking about, we joined Confederation in 1949.
Yeah,
and it was new to, and our hockey herder history goes back way before that, and our hockey history goes back. Baseball came here in 42 because the Americans had a base, and they brought baseball, and now we're pretty good. Like, so our history for most of these sports that are at least as much part of our bloodline, it seems now, it goes back before we even joined Canada. Nothing against Canada. It's just like local legends are real big here. I often say on a similar level, if you go to any other province, you'll see like a Newfoundland bar or restaurant, at least one. People get to, I don't know if I can say that about every province, nor I'm not putting them down. I just mean we have a sense of pride, a sense of isolation, and a sense of like, no matter what, we're Newfoundlanders, we're Canadians, we're certainly not separatists. I just mean we have that pride about us, and with that comes everything. It's our music. If you look at the music scene here in Great Big C and the Irish descendants and it's not all traditional stuff, but it comes from somewhere. It was passed down well before the boundaries were created into geography books like they are now. So, I could talk to my relatives in 1910 and they would say the same. Local hockey players are just as popular. The NHL can come and go, but for people around here, they just, they know they're locals. And so to be part of that is is something that I never really thought would happen. I didn't even really think about it, but when it did, it was I had goosebumps and I cried on stage. Put it that way.
Yeah. Oh no, that's good, man. Give me your thoughts. What did you make of the McDavid suspension, the Meyer suspension, the whole sequence that led up to it?
Well, the first part of what I'll say, I'll just direct you to Kevin Bieksa. I saw he summed it up like I mean, it goes people that want fighting out, and again, not to just thump on fighting, but when you see multiple cross checks on the same play and you think about how that used to be handled. I'm not saying I want Connor McDavid out there throwing the mitts, but Kevin Bieksa articulates at night. So rather than waste your time, check out what he said for that part of my argument, okay, or my point. But secondly, I don't, it's 3 games each. I figured they should both get the same. Given, you could probably make a stronger case that McDavid should get less, being that he was more in the heat of the moment, I think, kind of getting mauled as it happened. But I think just to appease everybody, I thought it'd be, but I was hoping for one. I like to see these guys play against each other on Thursday night, to be honest with you. I'm still more, even though it can be physical, and I guess a lot of people would use the term violent, but I'm more about creating rivalries than fizzling them out.
Yeah, I'm absolutely with you on that.
Yeah, so I really that was really the only thing that stood out to me about the length of the suspension. The other thing, look, I told a story on my own podcast earlier. I'm not criticizing the referees for this at all, but I'll tell you one great call, and a guy named Mike Hasenfratz, rest in peace, Mike. He passed away, I think, in November of 24, so not that long ago. And I remember specifically this happening. It reminded me, when I saw the play, it reminded me of it. We were late in a game in junior. He used to do the Western League games. Him and Tom Cowell stand out to me. I know there were more, but those guys, I think because I kind of knew them on a personal level, they were nice. They'd come into the rink early, and young guys on their way up, as we were. And at the end, we had our goalie pulled, and so we had a 6-on-4. Very similar. I don't know who it was, Dmitry Leonov or Jay Bircher, someone on Spokane that were, that's their job. It's the end of the game. They weren't, I don't think they were hitting them to hurt him, but they were the same thing, like just in his face. And Lanks was the leading scorer of the league then, right? And definitely we were a younger team than, say, Spokane, and definitely our next opponent, Kamloops. So there was a lot of focus. We were young leaders. And if you got us off our game, and us, I'm second on that totem pole. Lanks was the leading scorer of the league with 140 points. So, but he had a snap factor. Damon Langhow had a snap factor, man. And I think even that year he had 180 minutes or something. So, with 10s not included. So it was towards, and they were, the same thing was happening. Now, Mike put up his hand and he called a penalty. Now, we had the puck. And I remember going, what are you doing? And then he called Lanks for a penalty. And we went crazy. And I remember going over and said, what are you looking at? I called him everything in the book, of course. He could have given me a 10. But we went in after the game. It was either after the game, because I used to talk to Mike after and before. So I don't know if it was a coffee before the next game, but it was in the Tri-City in our lounge, I remember. So it was well off the ice. And I snapped and Lanks snapped. And he told me, he said, I could see was on his way to losing his mind. And he's like, you guys got a 6-on-4. What he did, he gave Lanks a penalty, but he gave them 2. But he's like, the only way that I could call the only way I could blow the whistle in that moment, because you guys had the puck, as well as I do, Lanks wasn't too far from cross-checking that guy across the face or dropping and doing something stupid. It was in him. There's a snap factor to everybody when they're getting mauled. I think Biz said about McDavid, he used the term, he said, low oxygen level to the brain. That's probably a scientific way to put it, but that's kind of, you're probably more susceptible to snap in that situation, right? Time dwindling away and just get it. And there's doesn't matter. We get a 6-on-4. You're isolating the best player in the league because, you can't get free. And that's what Mike said. And I said, wow, I didn't think of it like that. And he's like, I just tried to diffuse the whole situation. He's like, you guys ended up having a 6-on-3 because 5-on-3, you pulled your. So he said, it's not that you were worse off. Unfortunately, Lanks was off. But would you rather that then Lanks have a 20-game suspension. I was like, yeah, true. Not that that would have happened, but it was his way of policing it. That wasn't, maybe we kind of lost out and Lanks didn't deserve a penalty, but they didn't deserve two. And he made sure that we got an extra. And I thought that was an unbelievably, just a great way to handle the situation. And, so each player has you talk to veterans, I remember learning so many little parts of the game. Dave Mance telling me he used to look in the glass and use it as a mirror to see what was coming behind him. Little things as a player, you're going, wow, I never would have thought of that. Well, referees have that world too. Right. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it was Mike's unbelievably great instincts at that age or it was something that once in a while referees might resort to. And it's tough because you only got a few seconds to make the play or to make the call. But McDavid there reminded me of that because it happened for long enough. It looked like 8 or 10 seconds.
Oh, God.
That could have been done. So, again, this isn't a criticism. I'm just giving you a Terry's tale, for lack of a better way to put it, about one time that I saw the situation completely defused by Mike Hasenfratz. But, outside of that, hockey's hockey. I wish it was one game, but, both guys are going to live through it and finish out the year. But, three is a little much, and especially being that these teams are playing so soon. I mean, you want to see that rivalry go through the roof, and they're in the same division. They're both West Coast teams at that. It's not like they were playing Washington for the second time of the year. They're playing a team that's already a little bit of a rival. I mean, I think it would just add fuel to the fire, but that's the way life goes, and you live with it and you move on.
So to say that, if you're the Oilers, and Connor Garland didn't do anything dirty, he just, he wrestled him, annoyed him. If it's a rivalry game, like JT Miller early in that game, I thought probably got away with the penalty, right? And that'll happen, but and he was out there just running guys, and I still think Edmonton could use a few guys who can bite back at times. They got a few, but they don't have enough. That's just my own thoughts, and I think at times we see it. That's not why. Like Connor Garland was wrestling a guy. It wasn't cheap shot. It was annoying him, sure, but it's a game at Thursday on home ice. Would one of your smaller guys, would it behoove them to challenge Connor Garland early in that game?
It's another great question. So if I'm on that team, I'm trying to encourage everybody. If I was in any sort of a leadership position, my opinion would be absolutely run him every single person out here. Just because me, Terry Ryan, I'm a lot bigger than I don't like run him, and somebody fight him. Again, I just use Tri-Cities as an analogy. It probably would have been Mark Hurley or Brent Ashcroft or one of our smaller guys. In the NHL, a fair comparison would be Tucker when he first came into the league. But I know he's extremely feisty. But what was Garland doing? You got to you're messing with something. If this is the best player in the league of his era, and you're going to do that, I mean, something's coming. So for me, it's fair game. Go out of your way to hit him, and God, please, somebody grab him that makes sense. And there's 3 or 4 right there. I won't name names that I don't think it'd be out of the realm of anybody's expectation for Connor Garland to get grabbed. And I think he even expects to be grabbed. It's hockey. Like, it's tit for tat. As much as a lot of people don't want to see it, that's the way it goes, man. It's physical. You got a stick in your hand. There's hitting. There's no out of bounds. You're on ice. You're going fast. And one of the ways that you want to get our best player off by getting in his face and using physicality, you got to expect that it's coming back. Now, before I finish this thought, what I do absolutely love about Connor Garland's move there is that he didn't stay down and ham it up. He could have easily stayed down and hammed it up and acted like he was really hurt. I mean, it's the Edmonton Oilers. You're going to definitely play them again, probably in the playoffs if you'd look to make it. It's a very big possibility. And you didn't stay down and get that guy suspended for longer. I really like that about the play.
Well, it should add a little juice on Thursday's game, I hope. Anytime you can have a little extra juice in the regular season, I am all for it. We'll get to the Capitals and Oilers later on with TR. We'll come back. Dave McCarthy will join us on the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Sunday, February 9th. Touchdown! The biggest game of the year. On 30 TVs.
Only at On the Rocks.
Join host Ryan Jesperson at OTR's Rock and Bowl Super Party.
Tickets only $30 and include
guaranteed seating,
a team t-shirt,
prepaid moosehead,
and an all-you-can-eat tailgate buffet.
Plus prizes each quarter.
And one person will take home $1,000 at the end of the game.
The Rock and Bowl Super Party, February 9th.
Tickets at OnTheRocksYEG.com.
We believe that great projects start from the ground up. Well, to be accurate, great projects start from the underground up. We're GS Construction, and from pipes to drainage systems, we're always laying the groundwork for a better future for Edmonton. While the month of January may be slow for some, GS Construction is gearing up for a busy year ahead, preparing to build, repair, and replace tons of infrastructure to keep your systems running smoothly. To find out more, including new job opportunities, visit gsconstruction.ca.
Actions speak louder than words. Japa Machinery Group puts your construction plan into action with XCMG construction machinery you need. Available for rental or sale. Learn more at japamachinery.com.
Just when the weather is raising your nosy, someone's got a new menu that's tasty and cozy. What? It's Booster Juice. Now you can warm up and chow down with a savory selection of grilled fresh favorites. Breakfast wraps, chicken wraps, grilled cheese, steak, and chicken paninis. Topped with melty cheese, creamy pesto, spicy chipotle, grilled fresh options made in-house, warm and delicious. Made daily with the finest ingredients. Cozy comfort food at Booster Juice. Download the Booster Rewards app today.
You got a go-to coffee spot, a trusted barber, even a lucky game day jersey. But when it's about looking your absolute best, there's only one name you need. Mr. Dirk. Family run since 1939. We're experts in crafting impeccable tailor-made suits and offering a wide variety of everyday styles. Pair that with personalized one-on-one fittings and the convenience of on-site tailoring. Mr. Dirk elevates your style game. Visit our Edmonton store or explore MrDirk.com. Score big on style with Mr. Dirk.
Day or night, tasting just the right. You can order Oodle Noodle at oodlenoodle.ca, delivering you the news almost right away. Remember, you can order Oodle Noodle at oodlenoodle.ca. So sit on your couch all day and order oodlenoodle.ca. Oodle Noodle.
Hair Aware with Dr. Vance Elliott.
Hey, Dr. Vance, does a hair transplant have to look like a hair transplant? There's a guy at work, his is totally obvious.
My goal is to give every one of my patients a full, natural-looking head of hair, so I stay up to date on the latest innovations. This is science, and more importantly, an art. I do things differently and move more hair than is normally done, resulting in a thicker look that is also more natural.
Trust a world-renowned expert in hair restoration. Book an appointment at drvanceelliott.com today.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Leading Edge Physio. The team at Old Strathcona have special training dedicated to reducing the impact of cancer care before, during, and after your diagnosis. From lymphedema to the management of fatigue and side effects of chemotherapy and radiation, they can help. Learn more at leadingedgephysio.com.
From puck drop to kickoff, it's the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Welcome back. Tuesday afternoon, game day, sports 1440, sports1440.ca, and Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X. Thanks for watching and listening to the show. We always appreciate it. Set for a big tilt tonight, the Oilers and the Washington Capitals. Hey, anytime you get to see Ovechkin, how many times are you going to get to see Ovi live again in his career? Like this year, next year, is that it? If you're an Oilers fan, not many opportunities left. So, it's pretty big ticket to get to tonight's tilt. Now, let's get to our In the Room, brought to you by Action Electrical. And you know what? They do a lot in our community, but they are doing something pretty unique right now through their whole event. There are lots of their team that they're leaving to El Salvador, where they're going to build 10 homes for families in need, which is pretty fantastic. And they go over there. They have a group. There's 7 team members accommodations. There's other people that join in, and you can help it out. So if you're interested, you can just go to shelterhelps.com/action electrical. And if you ever thought you want to be part of this, something you could look into for next year. So it's pretty amazing stuff, and it's really life altering for a lot of these families. Now we welcome in Dave McCarthy from Sirius XM. Dave, how you doing, my man?
Is everybody okay in Edmonton? I see there's a lot of discontent coming out of your neck of the woods today.
Well, I've been saying this for a while, and I like to deal with numbers. So your opinion's only valid to the point you can defend it. Mm-hmm. And when I look at how the NHL is officiated, I watch a lot of the games. I have the center ice package, and the amount of non-calls on star players who have the puck the most, so it's not a surprise that most are on them, is always baffling to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I just look at the two. Most people would agree the fastest players in the game today with the puck on their stick are McDavid and McKinnon. And in 2022, when power plays were 2.89 per game, those guys combined to draw 90 penalties. This season, power plays are 2.80. Not much of a drop, 2.89 to 2.80. Yet McKinnon and McDavid are on pace for 47, half of the amount of infractions. So the league hasn't seen much of a dip in infractions, but a half a dip against the league's 2 top players. Anybody who tries to tell me that the league has figured out how to defend them better, I call bull you know what. And to me, the numbers just speak for themselves. The NHL is the only league, and when they say, well, you can't have a rule separate for your star players, they already do. The NHL says you need to fight through more than the average player because you're better. It makes no sense to me.
No, it's a fair point. You can't argue with the data. And when a guy has the puck as often as McDavid or McKinnon do, it would suggest that they ought to draw as many at minimum, if not more penalties than the average guy. The problem, though, then becomes if you are to call every even marginal infraction, and I'm not saying I necessarily, but I'm just speaking from the standpoint of how you want the game to appear. If you call every marginal infraction, if not legitimate, and you should call every legitimate infraction, then it could become a case where the majority of the game involving the Edmonton Oilers and the Colorado Avalanche is spent on the power play for those teams. And so maybe it should be, right? If you have players of that caliber, then you have an advantage. But to spend the entire game on the power play constantly, I think maybe at times the league looks at it and says, well, we got to let some marginal stuff go. You let some marginal stuff go on other guys that are, maybe not quite as good players, but it's exacerbated because it's McDavid or McKinnon, and it just becomes obvious. So I get the frustration from the standpoint of Connor McDavid. Like, it should have been a penalty the other night there on Saturday against Vancouver, for sure, when Garland was mauling him with 10 seconds left. 100%. If a penalty gets called there, does he react the way that he does? Probably not. So it's a valid argument. Having said that, that does not give you the authority to cross-check a guy in the face. It just doesn't. And I was surprised it was 3. I thought it was going to be 2. Because the play reminded me very much of Austin Matthews and Rasmus Dahlin in the outdoor game a couple of years ago in Hamilton, where Dahlin was kind of poking at him and mauling him, and finally Matthews just got to the point where it's like he lost his mind and he cross-checked him and it was too high. You can't do it. He got 2. So I thought it was going to be 2. 3 was higher than I expected. At least they were consistent with the Myers infraction as well. And for people who say, well, you don't suspend enough for blatant attempts to injure, which those were, well, and then if you suspend 1, then those people will be happy. So no one's ever going to always be happy. But I do understand why people in Edmonton are upset. With 3, it's probably a game more than I was expecting.
For me, the argument, well, there'll be too many power plays. History I don't hear a lot of people saying I couldn't watch the games in 2006. There was too many penalties. I've never heard that from anybody. I watched the games. There was 6 power plays per team per game. Over double what we see now. Actually, there was more. Because right now it's 2.8 and it was 5.8. So it's 3 more power plays per game, more than double. And guess what? Players figured it out as the season went along. And I'm a firm believer. I'm not asking for ticky-tack calls. Just enforce the rule book. Yeah. That's all. Just enforce the rule book. And it doesn't matter if some teams have better players and they draw more penalties. Well, that's the advantage of having a better player. And I find the NHL, when I look at the most successful league in North America, they've done everything to change the rules to make the game more offensive. They change the rules so defense and how they have to defend. Then they protect their quarterbacks. And you have some people get upset, but guess what? Their audience goes up because the average fan is like, I don't really know football, but geez, this game's pretty exciting. It's back and forth and there's chances and big plays and all this, right? The NHL scoring, like it does every year, goes down once we get in the second half of the season. Penalty infractions go down, even though the games get tighter. And it's a cyclical thing that never changes. And because I think the NHL is stubborn to think, well, you know what? Hey, this is what our loyal fans want. And I've never heard any loyal fan say, you know what? I want more clutching and grabbing. I want more of the best players not being able to showcase their talent. Like, it just doesn't make sense from a pure business standpoint to showcase your game. If your game is that fast and that quick and it's the fastest game in the world, then why do you want players to slow it down? That's all. Like, if you want to say, well, we don't want too many penalties, okay, well, then it's an idiotic standpoint in my viewpoint. Like, we don't want too many penalties. Why? The players will adapt. They'll always learn to adapt. They've done it millions of times. We don't see headshots anymore. Why? Because the NHL wanted to get rid of them. And now suddenly we barely have them. It's not hard to do. They just choose not to do it.
Terry?
Well, by the way, I agree with you. Like the best example of that was the hooking and holding. The hooking and holding, it was almost overnight. Was that 2006, Jason, or 2004 or 5? Was the lockout? When it came back, it took like a year. And that went for every level. I think they changed it in minor hockey and senior hockey all over, and it did. So I think point proven that players will adapt. What I want to know, you're out east, Dave McCarthy, and speaking of the Vancouver Canucks, there's a lot of discontent amongst players, management, and fans, it would seem, and a lot of fingers are pointing at JT Miller. Now, I've heard Rangers, I've heard Jersey. Is there any truth to that? Have you heard anything surrounding JT Miller and a possible trade?
Oh, I think the Rangers would be interested. It's so difficult to understand what has happened in Vancouver this year. They win the division last year. You come into camp thinking everything is good, and then somehow, like, everything just goes sideways almost overnight. And so it does look like there is an inability to coexist between Miller and Pettersson. And these are really difficult stories for anybody, no matter how connected you are, because at the end of the day, none of us, not the most connected insider, are actually in the room. And that is the genesis of whatever problem is hampering the Vancouver Canucks. So it's at a point now where there's been so much smoke, there has to be some fire, and there's clearly going to be a situation where they're going to have to come to some sort of a decision on how they're going to proceed, because it does not look like the two can coexist. I don't know the reasoning behind that. I would honestly challenge anybody to suggest that they do. I don't know if you do because you're not in the room. And unless you're part of the dynamic, it's very difficult to understand exactly what is going wrong. But if they decide that they need to come to a decision where somebody has to be moved, I mean, it would make sense that JT Miller would be the guy. You just signed Elias Pettersson. He's younger by 5-6 years. That would make sense. So where does JT Miller go? New York would make sense. I know Jason and I have talked, and I completely agree. Carolina is a team that provided they like, what comes with JT Miller, and they'd have to do their due diligence and make sure that, he'll fit into the room and all of that. Just on paper alone, what he could bring to that lineup would be a significant step forward for that group, because where they have run into trouble in years past is that they don't have enough game breakers. They do not have enough guys that can affect the game at the most difficult time of year. And JT Miller has proven himself to be one of those guys when he is at his best. So if they could add him, I think that would help. I think they need to add somebody of that ilk in Carolina. They went out and tried to do it last year and got Jake Gensel, and now he's gone. And so I still think there's a hole there. I'm also somewhat concerned about their goaltending, but that's another story. We'll see how Freddie Anderson plays moving forward here, but he's tended to be unavailable when they've needed it most. So that's something they'll have to keep an eye on. But I could see a real fit in Carolina, because I think right now the Hurricanes are a team that is looking to try to contend. The Rangers are still trying to get themselves back above water, right? So if I'm Carolina, I look and say, a guy like JT Miller, if we like what he brings to our room, what he can bring on the ice, would really help our group moving forward.
Dave McCarthy from Sirius XM joins us. Go ahead, TR.
Well, Dave, speaking of the Canucks, they're a bubble team, and there's a lot of bubble teams in Canada that are hoping to make the playoffs that are right there. How many Canadian teams do you think are going to land in the playoffs in a few months from now?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, there's a lot of teams that are kind of in the mix right now. I look at Toronto, they're in. I look at Edmonton, they're in. I look at Winnipeg, they're in. And so there's 3. Do we see Ottawa hanging on? I'm still not convinced, because I see the Rangers lurking. They're 4 points back, but just on paper, this team, of all of the teams in that logjam in the East, is the best one to me. And they've played well of late. They've picked up points, I believe, in 7, maybe 8 straight now. They've played much better, and they found some traction. There's some belief coming into that room, and this, as we talked about, if they go out and add, that should only help them moving forward. So you look at it and say, okay, if the Rangers get in, who comes out? Does Ottawa come out, or does Boston come out? Now, I'm still of the mind that Boston, I would bet on them before I would bet on Ottawa. So I guess that's the long way of saying I'm not convinced Ottawa finds a way to hold it, because every time they look like they've found some traction, and they have again of late, then they go out and they lose 4 or 5 or 6 in a row, and they fall right back down. So I can't see Ottawa in. I don't see Montreal. Nice story, but they're just not there yet to me. Once we get into the later stages of February and into March, I just don't see it holding in Montreal. So I see Toronto by themselves in the East, and in the West. To me, it comes down to St. Louis. Can St. Louis knock out Calgary right now? They're in the wild card, and get above Vancouver. I kind of like St. Louis. They've got a disadvantage in terms of games played right now, but I like their goaltending. I like the depth of their roster. Their blue line, to me, is a group that will be able to put it together. I think there's some holes with Calgary, and Vancouver's such a wild card right now. So honestly, my answer is 3, Terry. 3 Canadian teams that are going to be in, because the bubble teams right now just don't inspire me all that much.
Davey, the New York Rangers, I think they've got the most skill of those teams battling for the wild card. So I agree with you. I think they're going to get in. The Washington Capitals are in town tonight, and you know what? Lots of their numbers are very good. Now, their shooting percentage is high, and people say, oh, it's unsustainable. But I've seen lots of teams be at 10% at 5-on-5 the last few years, right? So they could do it. But I look at the Caps, and I think they really need to upgrade their third line. I think that's the one position. I think they like their top six. They'd like to get a third-line guy. And now a third-line player who maybe has the potential to be a second-line guy, we'll see. How aggressive do you think the Capitals are? Because they got a boatload of cap space due to LTIR.
Yeah, they do. I think they should be aggressive because I agree. Their third lines so often make the difference in playoff series, right? They often tip the scales. And right now, I think that's lacking in Washington. So they need to go out and get a guy like that. I look at a guy like Brandon Tanev in Seattle. I think this guy is going to really garner a marketplace leading up to the March 7th trade deadline. I like a lot of what Brandon Tanev is about. He can kill penalties. He's fast. He's physical. He can chip in a little bit here and there. He's a pain in the ass to play against. I think he's a guy that'll garner a market. He could fit in on a team like Washington. So I do think they should be aggressive. And from people that I've talked to in Washington, they believe that they're a contender for the Stanley Cup, not just a playoff. No, they're going to make the playoffs. They believe they're a contender for the Stanley Cup. So when you've got Alex Ovechkin playing the way he is, and the guy's 39, how much longer is that going to continue? Everything seems to be working right now in Washington. This, to me, is a year, especially in the Eastern Conference, where there really doesn't seem to be one or two teams that really stands out as far and away above the pack. Why wouldn't you push your chips into the middle of the table? So I do expect Washington to be aggressive, put the cap space that they have to use, and try to upgrade their team the best that they can, because I like the mix of their team. They've got a lot of guys that can score. You guys, are you going down to the game tonight, Jason?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So go into the Caps room. These guys are all the size of horses, man.
Dude.
Like just gigantic human beings.
I was in there earlier today, and now I know Protas from his days in PA, and he was always tall, but now he's thick. Like that line of him, Dubois, and Wilson, they're massive. Ovechkin's listed at 230. I guarantee he's probably 240. Like he's
gigantic human.
Yeah. Like
Dylan Strome's a pretty big guy.
Yeah.
Right? The back end. TVR is a pretty big guy. Chikrin's a pretty big guy. Matt Roy is thick and heavy. Like they have all of the attributes that I love on a team that goes deep in the playoffs. So, for those reasons, I don't see any reason why Washington should not be aggressive in trying to put themselves in the best position moving forward.
Yeah, no, I like their team a lot. Davey, great stuff, man. Enjoy the week, and we will chat with you. Well, actually, you and Con, man. I'll be off next Tuesday, but you'll be chatting with Connor Halley and TR next Tuesday.
Beautiful. Thanks, boys. See you.
There you go. That's Dave from Sirius XM. When we come back, it's Ryan's Rant on the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. $60 million up for grabs tonight in Lotto Max. Get your tickets at PlayAlberta.ca.
Hockey is back, and Play Alberta, Alberta's #1 sportsbook and official partner of the Edmonton Oilers, has you covered with bigger offers, boosted odds, live betting, player props, and more. New to Play Alberta? New players now receive $200 in free bets just for signing up. You already play? Get a $10 free bet for every $100 you bet. Every week, all season long. Visit playalberta.ca and make your picks today. Bonus terms and conditions apply. Experience more at the Edmonton Expo Centre. Come for Canada's largest trade show, the biggest names in entertainment, exhilarating sporting events, and more. Stay for the experience. But it doesn't end there. Maximize your brand exposure with Edmonton Expo Centre's new cutting-edge feature screens, spanning Western Canada's largest venue space. Captivate an annual audience of over 1 million visitors during iconic events like Pro Rodeo, Disney on Ice, Glow, K-Days, and so much more. To learn more, call 780-660-0514 or visit edmontonexpocenter.com today.
Every nickel that you don't pay in interest is a nickel back in your pocket. So make a 0% interest deal with your friends at St. Albert Dock. Right now, you can drive away in Motor Trend's Truck of the Year, the 2025 Ram 1500 with 0% financing. There's a great selection, over 100 on the lot. Or if you'd like to get some cash back to pay off your credit cards and start the year fresh, they can help you with that too. Just head up the trail and see how easy it is to do business at St. Albert Dodge.
Is it Riverside Motorsports?
No. It's Riverside Motorsports. Over 55 years in business, and people still get it wrong.
Guess it's time to get it right.
Riverside Motorsports. What you do for fun is our business.
Get the latest intel before the next hockey game. It's the Cross Mitsubishi pregame show with Andrew Walker and Landon Ferraro. Before the game, join us all season long on Edmonton Sports Station, Sports 1440.
McDonald's presents a hockey showdown like never before. McDavid versus Matthews. There can only be one winner, competing for all the glory and all the prize. The new menu features top shelf plays like the Smoky Quarter Poppy and the Big Mac David, so everybody scores, with even more delicious options like the Spicy Junior Chirpy. Now that calls for a silly Sunday. The Showdown menu, now available at McDonald's.
Introducing the Female Super League. Female hockey is on the rise with more women playing the game than ever. Join us as we pave the way for the future of women's hockey. The FSL is more than a game. It's a movement and an experience for the motivated female athlete. Teams will compete in a showcase-style format featuring consistent interprovincial competition. Come be part of the journey as the 2024-25 season unveils a 12U division, as well as the launch of a groundbreaking progressive body-checking 14U division. For more information, visit femalesuperleague.com.
Something just work together. Sticks and pucks, cleats and AstroTurf. Your love for the game and Papa John's passion for better ingredients, better pizza. Nothing pairs with the game like Papa John's. Crafted with signature sauce, toppings, and original fresh dough. They're the champion of pizza. And now you're the champion of winning deals. Just order at papajohns.ca. Use promo code SPORTS20 and score 20% off any regular menu price order. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's. That's SPORTS20.
90 days? You're telling me I can buy a 2024 or 2025 Buick or GMC from Wolf GMC Buick and make no payments for 90 days? Whoa. And you're telling me there's more? It's the final days of GMC's employee pricing on remaining 2024 Sierra HDs and Yukons? Clearly now is the time to buy a new vehicle. I'm heading to Wolf GMC Buick, corner of 184th Street and Stony Plain Road. It's mere seconds east of the Anthony Henday.
Wolf GMC Buick. We're making it easy.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Epcor. Stormwater ponds in Edmonton are designed to move water and runoff from streets and sidewalks, making them unsafe for winter activities. Instead, head to a community league or city rink that's safe for you, your family, and friends. Think twice and stay off the ice. Learn more at epcor.com/winter safety.
The Jason Gregor Show, the best of Edmonton sports talk and beyond. This is Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
$3.49, Jason Gregor, Connor Halley, Sports 1440, Waters Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X. As it's time now to get to Ryan's Rant, brought to you by Action Electrical. Take action on your savings. They can help you with solar on your business or your home. Find out all the great ways to deal. Do you know you can get 30% off tax credit for businesses? Find out more at actionelectrical.net. Here is Ryan's Rant.
So, Ryan's Rant has already been talked about, so we're going to have to come up with something else. I was going to talk about the Mike Hasenpratt story, and wasn't sure what page we were on. So let's talk about whatever comes up. What would you like to talk about, Jason? Is there any questions there? Some local listeners?
We do actually have a few TR questions. Just it's funny. It's like, guys, I like Ryan's rants when it's question time. Especially on relationships. So I was hoping he would answer this question. I actually saved this because we got this text.
Good. Yeah. You know what? I do have a bunch of those, by the way. I wasn't sure how they were going over, so I left it, but I got about 10 in the bag. I'll bring them next time. Go ahead.
Okay. He asks, he goes, What's TR and Gregor's thoughts on when you should propose? It's 2 years. Is there a timeline, Mike? Well, my easy answer would be time schmime. Do you want to spend the rest of your life with the person? Yes or no? I don't care if you're dating him for 6 months or if you're dating him for 3 years. I think if you trust your gut. I think if you be honest, because they might be super attractive, there's all sorts of things. It's just like, okay, do they have the attributes that I want in a life partner? And if they don't, that's okay. They can still be a nice person. But sadly, I have sat at a church on multiple times in my life being, this is not going to work out. And every time I thought that, which it's not my first choice because I'm a romantic, like I want people to be in love and I want it to work out. But I vividly remember 3 weddings that I went to, and I sat there and I was just like, and actually one time a few of our buddies actually vocalized, we had like a bet, which is really sad and after the fact. But 3 times I was there going, this isn't going to work. And none of them lasted more than 2 years. So I think sometimes people know, but they get caught up and they're like, well, geez, I don't want to be alone, or I don't know what it is. So I don't think there's a timeline. I think you just got to be honest with yourself. They're either the one or they're not. It's that simple. It's not, I don't think we have to overcomplicate it. That's my view.
Yeah. And if they are the one, they can wait. Are they going to snap if they don't have to wait? Like I always look, when I was 20, I would have had a different opinion on this. I was married and divorced by the time I was 24, right? And then married and divorced again by the time I was 30 odd. So I am a romantic, and it's easy not to see the forest through the trees when you are in love, whatever you want to call that feeling that, you just want. It's just, it seems everything's right. How could this ever, how could I ever not want to be with this person? But forever is a long, long time. And some of the happiest people that I've met are together and they're not married. What's the rush? Whoever it is she putting a timeline on you? Because in my world, that wouldn't be a good match. Everything else could add up. But if you don't, we gotta know going in that we're going to get through this. Like I'd ask myself as much the question, do I want to get married, as I would, how bad do I not want to get divorced? Really, if all the marbles were on the line and you were going to die or something if you happen to get divorced, are you still going to do this? Because it's life. I can't think of anybody in their right mind that when they were 20 or 22, if they were in a loving, logical relationship, that said to the person, look, you know what? It's not cold feet about you. It's just cold feet about this whole process. People change. Our personalities change. Our identities change. Let's stay together for a little bit here. And if we're together for, I don't know, 8 or 10 years, I find putting a timeline on it almost counterproductive. Let's see what it's like to live together in 3 different apartments and 4 pets. Let's see what it's like to live together through snowstorms and job moves and, ups and downs and disease and regret and death and all of these things that are going to come into it. Because right now we're living in an apartment, we're 22 and it feels good. We're going out tonight. We're going to get our degrees and we're going to live. But there's a lot that comes to unpack with life itself. And if marriage is a thorn in your side rather than a welcoming device to take you away from all that anxiety, then you've made the wrong decision. And unfortunately, a lot of people make the wrong decision because the divorce rate is way over 50%, which is ridiculous for something that's supposed to have so much sanctity, is that the word, as marriage. So I would just wait on it. Always wait on it if you need to do it at all. One of my favorite buddies, hockey friends ever, Bird Dog, Greg Smith, him and his partner Tammy never did get married, and they were 2 of the happiest people I've ever seen be together. They enjoyed every moment.
This one comes in from Bruce McCurdy, a regular contributor to the Low Tide Show. I was wondering if Terry was talking about the importance of the local community and his thoughts on if he knew George Faulkner, who passed away earlier this week.
Actually, I did, and his his son Bob, who I call Funky Faulkner, played hockey with my dad. I've known Funk my whole life. I've known the Faulkners. So a lot of and the answer is yes. I was going to bring it up. I didn't know if anybody, I know the Newfoundlanders would, but George Faulkner, you see, is a huge name here in Newfoundland. He's the first person that popped into my head because George, a lot would argue, is the best hockey player of his era, but he didn't play pro. He didn't play in the NHL. His brother, Alec Faulkner, is the first Newfoundlander to ever play. Now, who am I to say who's better? It's a sibling rivalry that goes back. I know both gentlemen. I've got to know them over the course of my life, and they are awesome stand-up people. And Alec had a lot of things go right for him to get to the Detroit Red Wings, but he had a great career, and he got out there when I think there was exhibition games over here, and he was playing for the Seabees, Conception-based Seabees, I believe, and got noticed. But George was my dad. My dad, again, nothing against either of them. Love Alec and what he did for all of us Newfoundlanders, paved the way, man, more than anybody, because he got away and he did it. He was the first. But my dad would tell you that his hockey hero is George Faulkner. There's no doubt. I believe Dad's from Grand Falls. I think they were from Bishops. But my dad, like George, was a little bit ahead of him, maybe 10 years, maybe a little less. But growing up, I mean, I heard more about George Faulkner than anybody. And he passed away recently, or 2 days ago.
Yeah.
George played, I would still see him. We would, we get the ice at noon pretty much every day of the week. I would still see George up to just a few years ago. He played rec hockey right up until he's 80 years old. Yeah, he was an absolute legend. Yeah.
And it's funny, Terry, guys who had a really high skill level in youth, even when they get older, you can still see the glimpses of where they were good players.
Yeah. I mean, oh, yeah, no, you could see it with this guy, hands and everything and in tight. And it was wild because he still had the lingo. He'd talk about, rookies and pick up the pucks. I'm going, geez, you played in the 50s, right? But I guess hockey's hockey, right? So it goes in, there's different eras that come and go. But talking to him in the room because he was such a healthy 75, 80-year-old. I knew him before that, but he was, as each time he skated in recent history, we would be like, wow. But he'd be out there and he'd love telling the stories. But honestly, it sounds like I'm really, my nose is growing here, but he was still a pretty good player in his 70s. I swear to you. And again, nothing against Alec, but to put you earlier, this program, we were talking about how Newfoundland joined Confederation in 1949.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad grew up in Grand Falls, and a bunch of them, 5 guys off his Bantam team, went away because Joe Byrne, who played in the NHL for a little bit, came here and he ran minor hockey. Abitibi Price, who owned the mill, brought him in. Now 5 of these guys went because Joe Byrne but no one before that had any opportunity. You think it was not much in the 80s? There was nothing. George Faulkner was a star when we were just becoming Canada, when no one even knew that there was hockey here, right? So the Seabees had this, whatever it was, senior hockey's always big. And I know this is the gist of the story, is that, the Red Wings and other NHL teams, but the Red Wings in this particular time, were getting ready to play. So they'd go around and tour. And if you paid money to bring them into the community, that's what happened. They came in and played and they said, who's this guy Faulkner? And a year later, he's playing in the minors. And 2 years later, he's playing in the NHL. But George, who's a little bit older, was every bit as good. And any local will tell you is probably the biggest star of his generation, including Alec, but never got away because of that. It's all opportunity, but when I was speaking earlier about the Hall of Fame and getting goosebumps and all of that, definitely the number one person that I would put there and I was thinking of was George Faulkner. So rest in peace, George. Great guy, great athlete, and great Newfoundlander.
TR, great stuff, man. Enjoy the game tonight. We will chat with you on Thursday when it's Oilers Canucks, and hopefully there'll be a little extra juice for that game.
Looking forward to it. Thank you, Edmonton. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Connor. And Friday's Shoresy. So get your TVs ready. It's going to be on Crave here in Canada. Can't wait. Nice talking to you guys.
We'll be talking preview on Thursday for Shoresy. So
okay.
That'll be a lot of fun. There you go. That's Terry Ryan joins us Tuesday, Thursday here on Sports 1440. Let's get to the con man and a Sports 1440 update brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling, where guess what? they are hiring, and for all sorts of different positions. You want to work for a great company, they've got the RRSP matching. They've got starting bonuses for the right candidates, strong benefits, tuition reimbursement, and of course, competitive wages. So find out more at legacyheating.ca as they're looking for new construction, HVAC installers, and plumbers.
This is a Sports 1440 update.
Game day is Alexander Ovechkin and the Capitals in town taking on the Oil. Puck drop just after 7 o'clock. Our pregame coverage with myself and Donovan Paulson gets going at 6 right here on Sports 1440. Elsewhere on the NHL, you got the Canadiens and Lightning. Sens in New York to meet the Rangers. Flyers host the Wings. Sharks taking on the Preds. Stars host the Canes. Sabres in Vancouver, and the Ducks taking on the Florida Panthers in the association. The Raptors look to pick up win number 11 on the season when they host the Magic. That gets going at 5:30. Also, Knicks in Brooklyn. The Heat host the Blazers. Sixers taking on the Nuggets, and the Lakers hosting the Wizards. In the AJ Bonneville's up against Grand Prairie, while Camrose is in Olds. Both of those games get going at 7 o'clock. PWHL, the Ottawa Charge in Minnesota taking on the Frost. That gets going in just over an hour. From the NFL, the Minnesota Vikings and head coach Kevin O'Connell agreeing to a multi-year contract extension. The 39-year-old has produced a 34-17 overall record with a pair of playoff appearances in Minnesota, and the New England Patriots are hiring Josh McDaniels as their new offensive coordinator, returning to New England, this time under Mike Vrabel. McDaniel was last with the Patriots back in 2021 before spending parts of 2 seasons with the Vegas Raiders as their head coach. Coming up in hour 3 of the Jason Gregor Show, we'll hear from members of the Oilers, talk to Jason Strudwick, and ask 5 questions. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
Sports 1440, Stingray radio station. CKJR broadcasts from West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin.
Download the free Stingray music app and listen wherever you go.
The job isn't done until the last load is hauled, and having a semi-trailer out of commission is not an option. Whether replacing or adding to your convoy, Edmonton Trailer has a huge inventory of new and used semi-trailers, trusted by the gravel, logging, oil field, fluids, and freight industries. Find a trailer right for you online or at one of their 3 locations. For sales, service, parts, rental, and finance, when you're in it for the long haul, Edmonton Trailer.
Some things just work together. Sticks and pucks, cleats and AstroTurf. Your love for the game and Papa John's passion for better ingredients. Better pizza. Nothing pairs with the game like Papa John's. Crafted with signature sauce, toppings, and original fresh dough. They're the champion of pizza. And now you're the champion of winning deals. Just order at papajohns.ca. Use promo code SPORTS20 and score 20% off any regular menu price order. Better ingredients. Better pizza. Papa John's. That's SPORTS20.
Legacy Heating and Cooling is the only place to call for heating your home. So when it's time to replace your old furnace, call Legacy. Call Legacy. Or for 24-hour repair with no overtime rates. Legacy even heats your shower with hot water tanks. Call Legacy. Call Legacy. And with no interest and no payments for 1 year, it could only be Legacy Heating and Cooling.
How do you beat those winter blues? How about a double shot of classic rock? River Cree Resort and Casino proudly presents Helix and Sweet. February 28th, live in the venue. Helix and Sweet. Get your tickets now at rivercreeresort.com.
River Cree Resort and Casino. Excitement. Bet on it.
Looking at the Alberta weather forecast, wild, unpredictable, brutally tough.
When the weather turns tough, Titan Supply doesn't back down. Titan Supply has been protecting workers from conditions like this for 50 years. We stand tall with you against the elements with the industry's best rigging, hauling, and lifting products to get you home safe. Tire chains, wire rope, round slings, chain slings, and a whole lot more. Titan Supply in Edmonton, Grand Prairie, Red Deer, and Calgary. Online at titansupply.ca. Lift, dig, haul.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Papa John's. It's Terrific Tuesday. Get 40% off any regular price pizza when you use the code word 40Tuesday at the start of each order at papajohns.ca.
The Jason Gregor Show, the best of Edmonton sports talk and beyond. This is Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
you. Welcome back. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley, Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X is always presented by PlayAlberta.ca, where you can get in the game. Use the promo code Gregor50. You'll get a free $50 play at PlayAlberta.ca, where the Edmonton Oilers, sans Connor McDavid, will be hosting the Washington Capitals, the top team in the National Hockey League. Use the promo code Gregor50 and get a free $50 play at PlayAlberta.ca. Also, while you're there, 60, that's the big $60 million up for grabs in Lotto Max. So get your tickets, PlayAlberta.ca. We're going to hear from Leon Draisaitl coming up in a bit. Matthias Ekholm as the Edmonton Oilers looking to stay. And because, hey, you think about the Edmonton Oilers here. They played very well in 2025 so far since the calendar turned. They're 7-2. Only Washington, who is 6-0-3, they've let to lose in regulation this year, have more points. And the Oilers, I don't know if you've been paying close attention, but they have gained a lot of ground on Vegas. They're now 1 point back of Vegas with a game in hand. Vegas lost in overtime in St. Louis last night. They've been on a little bit of a skid here. So the Oilers could actually move ahead of Vegas. And also, if they win, they'd be 2 points back of Winnipeg, who lost in Utah. So the Oilers very quietly suddenly have a made-up ground and are in a position to sit in first place in the Pacific Division for the first time all season if they can get a victory tonight. We'll see. Let's get to the oil report brought to you by Volvo Cars Edmonton, where right now you can get a Volvo XC90 plug-in hybrid at 1.99% and save $4,500 at Canada's leading Volvo ship dealer in sales, VolvoCarsEdmonton.com. Leon Draisaitl, you know what? Draisaitl, of course, one of the superstars in the game. And so he shared his thoughts on a lot of different things. Just first of all, his viewpoint of the 3-game suspension for McDavid.
Much to say towards it. Certainly think 3 games is a little too much for either side. But yeah, I guess we don't overly care about having our best players in the league in the game. So yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Now, he was then asked about the situation at the end of the game and, the non-call on McDavid, which seemed to lead to everything afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, like that can get avoided. It doesn't even need to get to whatever happened at the end of the game, right? That's how I see it. That's, to me, clearly a penalty. He's trying to get back into Connor doesn't want to tangle with Garland in that situation. There's 12 seconds left. We're looking to score. We're not looking to tangle with anybody. So, but I know, I also know the game happens quick, and that's just, the refs aren't going to make the right call every single time. I understand that. But in that instance, I think that could have been avoided. But yeah.
I think that's very true. Could have been avoided. Does he think the Stars get enough attention? Do they get for the amount of infractions that are committed on them? Is there a fair amount of calls?
Maybe not quite enough, because to me that's just common sense. It doesn't, again, make much sense. When you have the puck, guys are trying to defend, and Connor has the puck an awful lot, and more than anyone, probably, right? So it should probably be more penalties called on him or the top players. But again, I've said it twice now. It's just, this game's fast and it happens that way sometimes. So it's just the way it is.
And just to be clear, at 5-on-5, courtesy of Sport Logic, Leon Draisaitl has the puck the most of any forward. Now, defensemen have it more, right? Because they go back in the zone. And so, you got guys like Quinn Hughes actually has it the most of any player in the league. Then there's Makar. I think Bouchard's also in the top 10. Werenski, a lot of the guys you think. But Draisaitl amongst players is the only forward in the top 10. And he leads all forwards with the most time with the puck on his stick at 5-on-5. I didn't want to include the power play because there's not many infractions called in the power play. because the defending team, a lot of times, just trying to get stick in lanes, right? Like we see the odd time where it goes to 5-on-3, but think about how many penalties are called when it's already a power play. Not many. So I just wanted to say who has the puck the most 5-on-5, and the guys who do, they're the ones who should be, getting the calls the most. So yeah, there you go. Now, quickly, if you want to, we're going to do this very quick, and we're going to make the odds even better for you. We'll take 4 people at $100 to get in a draw, and one of you will go to the game tonight, pair of seats to see the Oilers and the Capitals. All right. So we'll make your odds even better. Only 4 people, 1 out of 4 chance, 100 bones goes to charity, and one of you can go to the game for $100, 2 seats. So can't get a better deal. So if you want in, 833-401-1440, 833-401-1440, just include your name and we'll send you a link on where you can donate. It's pretty simple. All right. We'll continue on. Lastly, he wants to ask his thought about, McDavid's out. Obviously, you got to pick up the slack. He's done it in the past. Is it a motivating factor at all for the team?
Yeah, I think these situations create a lot of excitement too for other guys, right? Because you're going to rely on other guys a little bit more than maybe you usually do, and I think that creates certain excitement for those individuals. And obviously, Connor takes on a lot of the offense for us, or in general his all-around game, but it's a great opportunity for other guys.
Oh yeah. And lastly, the Klingberg addition and potentially what he can add to the team.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thrilled. I'm really excited. I mean, in my books, he was maybe the best offensive defenseman in his time in Dallas, and I'm aware that's a couple of years ago now, but when you're going through injuries, that really limits you, and sometimes it gets into the mental side of things as well. So I thought he looked really good yesterday. Of course, that's practice, but we're very excited to have him and give him some time to get adjusted. Find his game a little bit, and hopefully he can get back to what he was, and then obviously he's a weapon for us. Yeah.
It's going to be very interesting to see kind of what happens with Klingberg. He's pretty confident now that he's had his surgery that his mobility and his motion, he's never felt better. Says he's kind of always had a little bit of a discomfort, but this will be fantastic to just kind of follow it. Now, he's not going to play tonight. He's not going to play Thursday. It doesn't sound like he's playing Saturday. So then you look at, you have next Monday or Thursday. I think Detroit at the latest is when you see Klingberg. Might see him Monday against Seattle, which in theory could make sense because then he has 2 days off after his first game in a long first game in 14 months. And then he could play again on Thursday. We'll see. But the Oilers have 6 games before the break, and he definitely wants to get in some. I think you want to get him into a few, right? Like, see what you got going into the game. They have, not including this week because he's not playing, but starting next Monday, they have 13 games before the trade deadline. I think you want Klingberg to play at least 10 of those, if not more, to get a good sense of where he's at and what he potentially can bring to your team. I think that's a must. Let's hear from Mattias Ekholm now. And, he shared his thoughts, just said, hey, you know what? I don't think it should have been a suspension in regards to Connor McDavid, and just talk about, hey, what they have to do now and, some things moving forward for this team.
And we need to win, right? So missing our best player usually on a nightly basis is going to be a blow for us. But we got a lot of guys that can step up in our room, and that's what we're going to look for, and we're going to need it obviously even more now.
Real tough test tonight. Washington comes in, top team in the league. They're a big, heavy team. They don't get a ton of shots, but they get a lot of goals. I don't know how much you film or what the game plan is, but how do you limit a team that's been on such a heater across their lineup, despite they don't overwhelm you with shots. They just score a lot.
Yeah, and that tells me we have to be ready at all times tonight. It's going to be one of those where you can't take a shift off because it's going to end up in the back of our net. So they've obviously been rolling, and I think they lead the league right now, and they're a really good squad. So we're going to have to be on our toes and make sure defensively that we take away time and space and make sure we limit their high danger chances. Obviously, you're saying that it's not maybe the biggest volume, but we can't give up those high-end grade A chances and they'll sting us. So we know they're a good team and it's going to be a great test for us.
What do you think about adding John Klingberg?
Obviously, great player. He's shown it before. He's had some injury trouble, obviously, so we're looking to get him back to hopefully his old days. And if we can get close to that, I know he's going to be a great addition for us. He's a great guy. Obviously, I've known him for years, and I'm excited to see what he can do for us.
If he does play with Darnell and gets up to speed, do you see kind of a similar kind of setup that you and Bouchard have, like a nice kind of complementary back?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Darnell's been playing amazing this year. I think he's been a rock for us, and then he when he brings his game, I think you get a puck mover next to him, and of the caliber that I know John can play. They're going to have to show it, obviously, and do it out there. But I think when you look at it on paper, for sure they look like they can be a great match.
Is it still kind of a special game facing Ovechkin at this point in your career?
I mean, I'm always looking for a challenge, and I'm always excited when there's these high end guys come in, and you have to try to defend them and try to limit their scoring chances and obviously chances to score. So I think that it's a challenge, and I think it's exciting to get those. It's a long year, and there's a few guys obviously that's been around the league for a long time showing what they can do, and this guy's track record speaks for itself. So it's again, I'm up for the challenge, and I haven't succeeded every time in my career against him, but hopefully we can do it tonight.
Yeah, well, it'll be a tough test for certain. Ty Emberson had a conversation with him because he's going to be on that side a lot that faces the Ovechkin one-timer. And, like from afar, you just think, I just get in it is a big commitment to want to get in the shooting lane every time on Ovechkin. Because the truth is, you know what? He unleashes one of those. It hits you in the wrong spot on your foot, can break a bone. Right? Hits you in the hand, can break a bone. The pain is one thing, right? Like maybe you take one just off the inside of the leg or whatever, but there's so many bones in your feet and you're in your hands that, and he shoots absolute lasers. Right? And it's not like those guys are like, oh, geez, someone's there. I'm going to take a little bit off. That's just not how it works, man. It's not how it works at all. So it is, takes a lot of gonads to consistently get in that shooting lane against Ovechkin on the one-timer when he lines up on that left circle. And you know it's coming. It's only a matter of time. Right? We've known it for years because people will just take it away. But how do you take it away? It's not like even if he stands in one spot, when they have other good puck movement around, because if you try to over-focus on him, then they just use the other guys. Right? And the Caps power play here lately is like 29%. So they've got some guys. John Carlson's an excellent power play defenseman. And Wilson's being productive. Dubois, you go down, Strome's working great right now in their power play. And back in the day when you had Backstrom and Oshie, they're like, oh, you want to try to overcompensate and take away Obi? Great, we'll just beat you elsewhere. And then eventually you have to respect it, so you move around, and then quickly one quick pass, boom, and he can shoot a one-timer. He's got I remember Adam Oates describing Brett Hall. All you had to do was put the puck in like a big circle area around him, and he could one-time it. And I can remember when people try to tell me, oh, Yakov's got a good one-timer. What the hell are you talking about? He barely hits it, and then he rarely hits the net. It's not a good one-timer. It's not a good one-timer because you can hit it once out of 10. Brett Hall, Alex Ovechkin, you get it in their wheelhouse, and they can get it away. So we'll see. 4:20, Jason Gregor, Connor Halley, Struds will join us next. And we have 2 spots left. You want in for Hundo, 833-401-1440, 833-401-1440. We're only doing a draw 4, making it your odds even better. $100 gets you in the draw, and one of you is going to go to the game tonight, Oilers and the Capitals. So you can be going 2 seats in the lower bowl for only 100 bones. Not a bad deal. 833-401-1440. Text in with your name, and we will send you where to make the donation.
Hockey is back, and Play Alberta, Alberta's #1 sportsbook and official partner of the Edmonton Oilers, has you covered with bigger offers, boosted odds, live betting, player props, and more. New to Play Alberta? New players now receive $200 in free bets just for signing up. You already play? Get a $10 free bet for every $100 you bet every week all season long. Visit playalberta.ca and make your picks today. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
McDonald's presents a hockey showdown like never before. McDavid versus Matthews. There can only be one winner, competing for all the glory and all the prize. The new menu features top shelf plays like the Smoky Quarter Poppy and the Big McDavid, so everybody scores, with even more delicious options like the Spicy Junior Chirpy. Now that calls for a silly Sunday. The Showdown menu, now available at McDonald's.
My utility bills are going through the roof. How can I take advantage of the sun and put my lazy roof to work?
Sounds like a job for the men and women of Action Electrical.
Energy team reporting. When you're ready to make your home or business more efficient, Action Electrical has the power to install solar panel systems and EV chargers.
Facing an electrical menace? Call on the men and women of Action. Operating throughout Alberta with supercharged skills and strong family values. ActionElectrical.net.
It's a new year, and the Brick is clearing out their old inventory. They're blowing out furniture for up to 60% off the original price. With in-stock items ready to go and additional unadvertised discounts, check out your nearest Brick location to save up to $1,300 off sofas, up to 25% off bedroom and dining, and up to 40% off mattresses. Plus, more deals in every department. Some exclusions apply. The Brick, saving you more.
Picture this, a snowy morning, and you're staring at where your driveway used to be. Your neighbor's Toyota RAV4 with all-wheel drive cruises by unfazed, making winter look easy. You're thinking, that should be me. Yes, it should. It's time to upgrade your winter. It's time to Toyota. Lease a 2025 RAV4 LE all-wheel drive from $95 weekly for 60 months at 6.69% with $3,999 down. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Prairie Toyota dealer today.
Familiar flavors meet a refreshing new twist in the Varsity, nestled in White Mud Crossing. The Varsity boasts a delicious menu filled with your favorites, like endless forever fries with every burger, crafted with a unique new touch. Enjoy the welcoming atmosphere you know and love. Now with fresh, locally sourced ingredients and exciting new choices. And the best part is, your wallet will be happy too. Order online at varsityburgers.ca or visit the Varsity today and discover how something new can feel oh so wonderfully familiar.
Do it. Your vehicle is a big investment. Protect it at Hughes Car Wash. We use only clean, fresh water and the highest quality car wash soap. Hughes Car Wash, the car wash pros.
Find us at hughescarwash.com.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Japa Machinery. Did you know that Japa offers in-house and on-site heavy equipment service? Rain or shine, Japa's service department is here for you. Visit japamachinery.com for all of the details.
Look good, feel good, play good. It's the Jason Gregor Show. Thanks for listening to Sports 1440.
Presented by playalberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
.425. Welcome back, Jason Gregor. Connor Halley, Sports 1440, Orders Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X. We got our 4 people in for today, so we're just waiting on one more to get their donation in. So thanks, everybody else. I'll put you on the waiting list if a guy doesn't pay here by the top of the hour, and away we'll roll. And so nice. Maybe we'll do it again for the Canucks game. Something tells me that Canucks game might be a little bit bigger of a draw, even without McDavid. Be a little extra juice in the building that day. Nice. God, it'd be great. Imagine Brian Nugent-Hopkins just squaring off with Connor Garland. God, sign me up for that one. I'd be all over it. Garland's a feisty little guy. Nugent-Hopkins doesn't fight very often, but knows how to do it. Just ask Justin Holl. So that'd be great. And I'll tell you right now, when guys like that drop the flippers, the rest of the bench loves it. Like you can't ask Darnell Nurse or Ekholm to fight Connor Garland. And not that Garland did anything that's dirty, but it was rat-like. And it led really to McDavid getting suspended. Make no mistake about it. So I don't know. Maybe I'm old school. I'd like there to be a little bit more emotion and time in games. I'd love something. You know what? Just challenge him. Even if you just challenge him, the crowd would love it. That's what would be great. Just go up, do the old gloves off, right? Our next guest knew a thing or two about it. Every now and then, he liked to put on the big show back in the day. That'd be great. Right? Matter of fact, that's like old school WHL circa 1980 or 90. It still happens the odd time, not very often. But man, back in the day, like the lead up to the tilt, you used to be almost as entertaining as the tilt itself. It was unreal. As we get to Struds On, brought to you by Silent Ice Sports and Entertainment, an innovative market leader that includes the Seattle Thunderbirds, the Spruce Grove Saints, the JPHL, the Women's Super League, and more. Silent Ice Sports and Entertainment.
The Jason Gregor Show presents Struds On.
I don't believe in tea bags. I use loose leaf tea, and it is so much better than the tea bags. I'll eat tea bags. I'll
Struds On.
I'm not a huge DJ guy. I guess if you hand me a couple glow sticks and a tight white t-shirt that I can get wet, maybe I'd be into it.
Struds On.
There's a lone steakhouse I used to go to down in Kentucky, and it bowls of peanuts. I wasn't sucking on those ones. You need to have clean nut. I'm talking about the kind you get in a bag at an Elks game. You know what I mean?
It's time for Struds On.
There we go. Struds On. Struddy, do you remember did you ever get caught up in the pomp and circumstance of the old WHL tilt where, you're one glove off at a time, then the next one comes off, then slowly you're backing out, the helmet doffs off. Remember those ones?
Yeah, I do. I don't think I remember. Like I'm not a big when I was going to fight, I wanted to be all business. And not that those guys aren't when they square off like that, but I feel it's a bit bigger of a show. I'm like, let's just do it. I didn't love squaring off. I wanted to get a grip on the guy right away. So when you back off and you take your gloves off, maybe an elbow pad, a helmet, now you're squaring off. And I think it just, I thought it made it riskier. So I wanted to get in and get a grab on the guy right away so I could try to control him. So that part of it I didn't like. And quite frankly, in junior, I had no idea what I was doing when I was fighting. So I wanted to get it over with as fast as I could.
But you must have at one point in your career had at least one that was a little bit of a show.
You know what? I squared off with guys, but I don't think I ever took my helmet off. Not that I remember.
Okay.
I wanted to be like I was this business. And and this sounds a little bit crazy, but when the guys have their hands up right by their chin and they're moving around with their hands, I just wanted to stand there and made the other guy think that you should be nervous because I look so calm, even though on the inside I was just screaming. But I wanted to look calm and project just like this is going to be rough for you, right? And I think when guys get their hands up and they're moving around and putting a show on, I think they're trying to convince themselves it's going to be okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but there was some big deals, man. Like I always remember some of those, and it was just like gloves off, they're circling around, the crowd's going nuts.
Oh, yeah.
It kind of like you're on the bench, and so I think the owners, and I know that Garland did nothing that was remotely dirty. Was it annoying? Sure, probably smart when you think about it. You're under 25 seconds, you just grab onto the other team's best player, and you're like, yeah, I guess I'll take a penalty. By the time they touch, it's game over. But with all that happened afterwards, and now McDavid's out 3 games, and he's out because of the non-call. Do you think one of the orders small, a Connor Brown, a Nugent Hopkins, et cetera, someone in the similar weight class, would you call out Garland if it was you and you were one of those guys on Thursday?
Well, it's a huge opportunity, right? You can become a bit of a folk hero in this city. And you're right. It has to be someone we're not used to seeing doing it. So I'm looking at like a Kapanen, at a Brown, at a Janmark, no Phil. Like Connor Garland he's really scrappy, but if he hits you square in the face, it's not like he's knocking your head across the rink, right? So there's an opportunity to do something here to really just challenge him, because what Garland did, I think, was brilliant. He saw an opportunity to take the best player on the ice out of the play, and should have been a penalty for sure, but it wasn't called. So he eliminated that player, and then I don't think he expected Connor to cross-check him, but that was, I guess, a bonus if you're Connor Garland. But it's an opportunity for someone to step up and do something, and it has to be someone we're not expecting. It can't be someone who's done it before.
Yeah, well, and that's like Noah Philp would gladly do it. Philp's a pretty big dude. I don't think Garland would take that tilt, but like if Nugent Hopkins did it, even just, how it is, Struddy, everybody can tell in the building if you're challenging the opposition player, right? Whether it's off a face-off, whatever, you're chirping, whatever, you can either do the simple, like, doff the gloves motion. Even if he does it and Garland doesn't accept, it still gets the crowd fired up. Like, I'm just looking at ways to get more emotion in the game at times.
Oh, 100%. I think, unfortunately, it's too long of a suspension. Otherwise, it would have been great to have everyone back in it on Thursday. But the opportunity is there to become a bit of a hero and to, like I said, it means so much when it's someone you don't expect to do it.
Struddy just fell off there.
No, I just paused.
Oh, sorry. There you go, buddy. You're on pause. What happened? Did your batteries run out for a second? What happened?
No, I just finished my thought.
Oh.
I just finished my thought. That's all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought I was waiting for. I thought you had more to say. Okay, just got to pause, deep breath there. All right.
No, just
yeah. Okay. Now looking at this game tonight, like I know there's lots of talk about the players and the stars, and I've crunched the numbers, and I saw your opinion on it. Most people felt like 3 games was probably a little more. I thought for sure he'd get 2, but I did say 2 or 3. So I'm not like, I never go crazy if I think it's 2 and he gets 3, and I think it's 3 and he gets 2. It's kind of whatever. But for the Oilers now, you got the Capitals tonight, Struds, and I walked around their dressing room today. Like, they got a lot of trees in that room. They are huge, especially their forward group. So, and they're not overly fast, but they play fast. And I look at them. They've been very disciplined in all facets. There's no Connor McDavid tonight. So we know that Draisaitl has stepped up before, but I get a sense that Henrique is going to play with Hyman and Skinner to start. And Nugent Hopkins is actually going to center Janmark and Brown. That's what I think is going to happen. The importance of that Henrique, Skinner, Hyman line. And we saw it for a bit when Connor Brown went up with McDavid, and they looked all right. So, do you think that line can bring it tonight against the second line of the Caps?
The second line being PLDB and Wilson?
Yeah, and Protas, that monster line.
Guys, that is a big line. So the line I loved for LA was Jeannot, Byfield, and Fogle. Now, this line is bigger, on average, and I think they're even maybe more skilled than that line is. And so this is a heavy line to play against. And they're a lot to take on. And credit Caps, when they made that trade for Pierre-Luc Dubois, PLDB, I was like, what are they doing? Well, he's panned out. He's playing pretty well. And he and Tom Wilson on the same line with Protas. That's a really, really heavy line. So for Henrique, he's not out muscling them, right? That's he and Skinner. They're not out muscling those guys. So they have to play, to steal your words, that line. If they're playing against them and whatever D, you've got to play really fast by moving the puck fast. You have to think faster because you're not out muscling Tom Wilson and that trio. It's not happening. Maybe if you have Nurse out there, maybe Ekholm. Kulak's a pretty big guy, but they are big and heavy. So that the Oilers can't try to outmuscle them. They have to play fast and make Washington try to keep up with them with the way that they move their feet rather than trying to get a heavy game going. This is not the kind of game where you want to say, let's play heavy against them because they're going to win that every shift.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. What's your thoughts on Klingberg?
Well, when it first came down, when we heard about it, wanted to come back, I was like, come back. Like, this is nuts. And then you kind of hear what he's been doing and skating in the process and his availability and how he's been approaching it. And, kind of wanted to make sure he was ready before coming back and all that stuff. It's a low risk with a potentially huge reward contract, huge reward. If he can become a partner for Nurse, I've been saying for a long time, they need a guy that can move the puck really well beside him. Klingberg could do it. He's not physical, but he's not a small guy either. So he takes up space when he's skating well. When he he is a good skater. If his hips feeling good, he can really get around the ice quite well. So he could be the perfect fit. If that pays off, that's huge. But I think Oilers fans have to look at it this way. Don't evaluate him shift by shift or period for period. Let's evaluate him, maybe 5-game segments and see if there's improvement in the way he moves and the way his confidence goes, because the league's moving pretty fast right now and he hasn't played for, well over a year.
Yeah, it was interesting. I loved his honesty, Struds, when he talked about how his mobility limited him when the opposition had the puck. Because when they have the puck, you have to react to what they're doing, right? So you got to be on your toes and, I'm going left, I'm going right. And that's where he felt. So he would sometimes give more space. So that allowed an easy zone entry. And then you give up more space. Now the guys have more time to make plays. And everything he said made a ton of sense. And the fact that he was so aware about it, how consciously in your head as a defender, you can't be as aggressive as you want because you don't have the reaction time or the ability or the mobility, to react to it when you're that close. Right. So if you give yourself more space, you're like, well, geez, now I have an extra quarter, half a second. I'm going to be able to turn with the guy, etc. And I'm assuming that that really makes sense when because if you play passive as a defender in today's game, you're done. Right. So now that he says he can get that mobility back, because his first 7 years in the league, he was a hell of a player. And the other thing about Klingberg was he's quietly competitive. Right? He got into it with Tkachuk a few times, which I know, Tkachuk gets a lot of people off their game, but he's not a shrinking violet when he plays, right? He's not going to run guys over by any stretch of the imagination, but he's competitive. And on paper, the theory of a Klingberg-Nurse pairing could be really good. Now we just have to see if Klingberg can play.
He did a great job explaining what it's like when you're injured. And I remember I played with a sore knee or whatever, not that I needed surgery on it, but you can't trust it.
Yeah.
So that means that when someone's coming down on you or you're going to the corner, you kind of have to play the field a little bit. Think, okay, I'm gonna play this a little softer so that I can react, and have time to react. If he goes left, I can react and go that way. The problem is if when you do that, it gives the guy more time and space, and he can build up more speed. And now your reaction time is got to be even more heightened because you're chasing him, right? You're chasing him more than if you're right up on him. So the challenge for Klingberg is going to be to adjust that in his play night to night, because he's used to doing it a certain way. Now he's got to get out and be more assertive. So, gapping up more. And it can be as basic as when I pass the puck out of my zone, I just skate up as hard as I can up the ice so that if there's a turnover, I'm already in a good gap position. So those are things that I'll have to kind of tweak on the fly and kind of readjust in his game. But as far as a partnership with Nurse, it could be genius because he moves the puck so well. He's really smart. He's a veteran player. He's been through some big games. I think Darnell will understand what his role is beside Klingberg. Not that he has to sit back, but he doesn't have to do a lot. He can just do what he does well, which is defend hard. First passes, follow the play up. Right, don't have to carry the puck up, but follow the play up, and so they could have a really nice partnership. So, the potential is huge, but the timeline is pretty tight because they have to see this from Klingberg before the trade deadline March 7th. And by the way, there's 2 weeks off for the Four Nations. So if I'm Don Klingberg, I want to skate the whole time of the Four Nations. So I don't know where he's going to do that. Maybe the Oilers can provide ice time, or he goes back to wherever he was skating, but he needs to be skating and keep it up because, skating for a couple of weeks and taking 2 weeks off or whatever it is, a week off, that doesn't work. And he knows that. He's a veteran. He'll understand that.
Yeah, for sure. I look at the Oilers, and let's say you fill that hole with Klingberg, and now it's all of a sudden, geez. Now, I would still go out and get a depth left defender because you have Stetcher and you have Brown and you have Kemp, but you don't have any left guys that you think could fill in case Kulak or Nurse or Ekholm get hurt. So I don't think they're done on the defense. I still think they would add another guy. It's not going to be a big name by any stretch. It's just a depth guy. But I really still feel every game that this team needs a little bit more sandpaper. I know that Kane might come back, but we don't know for sure if he will. He's just a might come back for the postseason. If I'm the Oilers, I still feel they need to get a winger who can bring some edge to their game. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, I'd be with you. So, I mean, let's assume that Klimberg works out. That saves a ton of assets, right? Doesn't cost them anything. And let's assume that they believe in Noel Philp, that he can be that guy in the fourth line, like because he, the last couple of games, Knobloch's been really positive. And I think he actually used the word exceptional, describing Noel Philp's game against Vancouver. So that's pretty high praise. So now that frees up all those assets to add what I think is correct, a bigger body that plays heavy. Because he's not going to play in the top six, but a bigger body that can play. And you don't just need a fridge, you need something to get around the ice.
Yes.
So I'm going to give you an example, but this guy isn't the answer. I know he's a center, but Yanni Gourde, mentally and the way he plays is the right idea. The problem is he's quite small, and I don't believe they need a smallish another player. Although, like the energy he brings, that's the right fit. You need a bigger Yanni Gourde that comes in and brings, some speed, some tenacity, some heaviness to your game, because when you're going to play, and I'm assuming they're going to play Vegas in the playoffs, their D are huge, humongous. So you need people strong enough to drive through that, get to that, and then maybe inflict some punishment on that group of six.
Yeah. So it's something I think they need. I know there's not a ton of those guys out there, so that always makes it a challenge, but it's something that I think Stan Bowman would look at to add for sure. One final one for you, Struddy. Looking at the NFL, and you see the 4 teams remaining. Who do you like in the AFC and the NFC to go to the Super Bowl?
Well, as a fan of the NFC East specific team, I think I'll go with the Eagles in that one. And then on the far side, I'll probably go with, I believe, your team. Are they not also in there with the Chiefs? So Chiefs Eagles in the final. Do you like that one?
Chiefs Eagles. Yeah, I could see it. I don't expect either game to be easy by any stretch of the imagination. Until the Bills can win in playoffs in KC, it's hard for me to pick the Bills there. I thought KC looked a little rusty at times after essentially a 3-week layoff for their starters. I think they'll be a lot crisper in that game against Houston. And I don't know why, but I know the running game, like the old line is so good in Philly, and they're probably going to be able to run it down the throats of Washington. But Jaden Daniels is so exciting to watch. He might make that game a lot closer than we think.
Yeah, he's been really good, and that's a real disaster for any other team in that division. But you know what, the Bills, watching that game against the Baltimore, they capitalize on the mistakes that Baltimore made. So are they going to, I think it comes down to a turnover thing again. Can they have less turnovers than the Chiefs? And then can they make things happen? Like you think about a couple drop passes in that game, Derrick Henry dropping a pass that, is that a touchdown? I'm not sure, but he's getting a lot of yards on that when it goes off his fingertips. So I'm really interested to see how those guys can play, but I'd love to see the Bills make it, but until you beat the Chiefs, I'm sorry, I can't bet against them.
Yeah. Struddy, I just want to read you something that under the category of what I would deem fairly pointless. I'm going to read you something that just came out.
Okay.
The Edmonton Oilers released a statement regarding Connor McDavid. Quote, "The Oilers organization is disappointed, and we share in our fans' frustration over the 3-game suspension of our captain, Connor McDavid. We support him through this process, and the organization and our fans look forward to having him back in the lineup versus Seattle next week." What was the point of that? That might be the most pointless statement of all time.
So, you know what? I ran into fans. What they want is for Stan Bowman to come out and just blast the NHL. And I get it. I get that there's frustration there. And I think 3 games was heavy-handed. The problem is there's only so many times a GM can pull that play out of the playbook and just hammer the league. I would try to use that in the playoffs. So, this is maybe a way of gently saying, we don't agree, and maybe it's for the fans. But I agree. It wasn't not much teeth on that one, on that hit.
Yeah. And Ichiro Suzuki, CC Sabathia, and Billy Wagner officially going into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Ready?
Oh, wow. That's quite a group. That's a pretty good group there.
Yeah, Carlos Beltran and Andrew Jones just finished shy at 70 and 66%, respectively. So I thought Andrew Jones could have went in. He was unreal as a center fielder. Oh, and a pretty good hitter, 400 home runs. So, but
CC Sabathia, hell of a pitcher. He was so big on the mound. Oh man, he would have been so intimidating.
Yeah, if Ichiro would have come over to North America earlier, he might have given Pete Rose a run for his hits record. God, he was unreal.
Yeah,
he was. Scotty,
so good.
Have yourself a great day. Enjoy the games tonight and Thursday, and we'll chat with you next Tuesday.
Be a fun one. Talk to you guys later.
There you go. That's Jason Strudwick, co-host of the Got Your Back podcast, joins us every Tuesday on Sports 1440. Quick break. We'll return. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley, Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
A premier hockey solution with a clear path for long-term development is proud to be entering its 8th season of independent borderless hockey, featuring provincial and cross-province competition with showcase-style regular season gameplay and a strong commitment to individual skill development. It's an attractive option for those seeking family life balance. The Hockey Super League offers opportunities for both male and female athletes born between 2012 and 2017. Visit hockeysuperleague.com for more information. Some things just work together. Sticks and pucks, cleats and AstroTurf. Your love for the game and Papa John's passion for better ingredients, better pizza. Nothing pairs with the game like Papa John's. Crafted with signature sauce, toppings, and original fresh dough. They're the champion of pizza. And now you're the champion of winning deals. Just order at papajohns.ca. Use promo code SPORTS20 and score 20% off any regular menu price order. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's. That's SPORTS20.
In 1973, deep in the basement of an Edmonton family home, an elite team of specialized forces came together to form Action Electrical.
Action Electrical Divisions, assemble!
Projects team reporting.
Service team reporting.
Testing team reporting.
Energy team reporting.
Supercharged with skills in their electrical fields and grounded by strong family values. Facing an electrical menace? Call on the men and women of Action. Operating throughout Alberta at actionelectrical.net.
A bedtime story by Zachary Martin Hyman.
The hockey game's over. The Zamboni sleeps soon. I lay down in comfort. Legacy heating my room. Good night to you, furnace, with your hot blower running. Good night to you, air vents, keeping the warm air coming. Good night to my payments that I won't see for 1 year. Good night to my legacy. Bedtime is near.
Warm winter nights. That's how you soothe your legacy. Legacy Heating and Cooling.
At Schwab Buick GMC, our boss is serious about cutting prices on vehicles like Sierras and Silverados. When?
Right Schwabbing now! Right Schwabbing now!
So when he sees the MSRP, he says,
that's not Schwabbing good enough!
He's always looking for more.
Dig the Schwab in!
Save with 0% financing or lease rates as low as 1.9% on 2024 half-ton trucks.
Right now!
At Schwab,
partner in power.
The Jason Gregor Show, the best of Edmonton sports talk and beyond. This is Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
$450, Jason Gregor, Connor Halley, Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X. Welcome back, Jason Gregor, Connor Halley. Okay, so let's clarify. Somebody thought that they would get both tickets for a $100 donation. That's not what we're doing. We want to get face value on the tickets. So we're just doing a draw. 4 people at $100, 1 in 4 chance to win. So need one more person who wants to get in. Best odds you'll get to see the Capitals and the Oilers tonight. Lower bowl seats, great seats to see the Oilers and the Caps, and it's $100. We got 3 in. We need one person. If you want to go or you want a chance to go, 833-401-1440. 833-401-1440. All right, because we have Lance, Bruce, and Reed are in. We need one more. So 833-401-1440. Just send in your name and the $100 donation. That's what you want, and then we'll send you where to donate. Pretty simple. Now, while we wait for that, let's get to 5 questions brought to you by The Brick, where, hey, it's saving you more this week as the inventory clear out continues on. 25% off bedroom and dining, 40% off mattresses, and there's 60% off the original price of select items at The Brick and thebrick.com.
It's time for 5 questions on the Jason Gregor Show.
All right, Jason, question number 1. Oilers without the captain tonight as they take on the Capitals. What's going to happen score-wise, and who's your pick to score the first goal of the game?
Well, first goal of the game for the Oilers hasn't been them lately. Will they change the trend? Here's the thing. Both of these teams, the Oilers are 17-3-3 when they score first. Washington 17-5-3. But the Capitals are the best team in the league by a large margin in winning when they give up the first goal. So I'm going to say Oilers at home. No McDavid fired up. I will say Adam Henrique scores the first goal, but the Oilers lose 3-2 in overtime.
All right. I'm going to go flip side of you. I'm going to take Ovi to score the first goal, but the Oilers find a way to come back and get the win 4-2 with an empty netter. Believe it in the Oil. Question number 3 for you. There's some people out there finding the positives in a 3-game suspension for Connor McDavid without being a week off with time to rest up. Are you in that camp when it comes to McDavid?
Well, rest is never a bad thing. So sure. That, I don't know if he was fatigued, really. He'd been going on a roll. Will he be more motivated? That's the one thing I don't really necessarily buy. I think guys like that, they're motivated every night to play well. And here's the thing. They don't play Vancouver again after Thursday. So he's not going to face the Canucks. There's not going to be, unless they're in the playoffs, which would be great, by the way, if they faced again for 2 years in a row. But so I don't know if I can buy that he'll be more motivated, but he definitely will be more rested.
Yeah, I don't know about the motivation, but hey, you got to find a positive. There's nothing you can do about this suspension. They're not going to appeal. So find the positives. 3 days off or 3 game days off, a week off. Yeah, give him a little bit of rest. He's not going to get time off during the 4-nation face-off. So I think we can spin this into a good thing. Question number 3. In the middle of the Australian Open right now, when it comes to non-team sports, what's your favorite to watch?
My favorite sport to watch was you go first.
I'll take just we're gonna take the individual of it. Every Olympics I really get into diving for whatever reason. It's a little slow, but it's a fun sport to watch. And then just kind of sticking with the Olympic theme, downhill skiing is just an absolute blast. So those would be my top individual sports to watch.
Yeah, ski cross has become one of my favorite individual sports to watch. I love it. So that will be my pick.
Question number 4. The Dodgers' amazing offseason continues as they keep handing out money. Kirby Yates, closer, joining the squad. Do all the signings that the Dodgers make intrigue you? Like, do you want to watch them? Or are you on the side that's less interested because of what they're doing, spending all this money?
Yeah, I haven't. It doesn't make me want to watch them anymore at all. I think baseball is teetering again on the point where it becomes like, I get when people are like, hey, you know what, you want to beat the big bad villain. That might be able to help you at times. Obviously people in Japan are going to be flooding to watch their games, and so I think that's all they really care about, right? The Dodgers are making all this money in merchandise and everywhere else. That's how they get all their money back. Is it good for the overall league? No, I think it benefits one team. And I would watch, I'd maybe be intrigued more by the playoffs to cheer against them. But I kind of think it's a farce if they win. I'm like, well, it's not hard to win if you can outspend infinitely more than everybody else. That's not a skill. It doesn't take, hey, guess what? We can offer more money than everybody else. We're a much better management team. I don't buy that.
Yeah, I'm with you. And it makes me intrigued to see what they do, but also because I want to see them lose. If they get into a series with San Diego again, I'm going for the Padres for sure. I don't like the deferred payment thing that they're doing either. I think that's just kind of a way to kind of, I don't know if it's circumventing anything, but it just seems a little sketchy when you're the first team to do it, trying to gain that advantage. So I'm not a big fan of it. I hope the Dodgers lose. Sure, they'll be great, but count me on the side of hoping they lose, not more intrigued. Final question for you today. It was on this day in 1995. Tom Hanks won a Golden Globe for Forrest Gump. So when it comes to movies, when you have the main character narrating the story, do you have a favorite?
There's a few that quickly come to mind for me in this category. Very different movies. One is like a classic of my young childhood. I love the movie. It's hilarious. And then another one was kind of creepy, suspicious, more of an intense drama. So I'm going to go with a tie for me, Cons. I'm going with Gone Girl, but then I'm going with Sandlot.
Sandlot's a classic.
No, great.
So good. Yeah, I'm a big fan of this kind of genre of movie where they kind of speak to the audience. I liked The Big Short when they did it. But one of my favorite movies of all time is Zombieland. And Jesse Eisenberg, I believe the name. I forget what his name is. Tallahassee, not Tallahassee. Anywho, he just kind of talks about his rules for surviving Zombieland throughout the entirety of the movie. So Zombieland is one of my favorites for that.
All right. We do have a lot of votes. People saying the Masters is their favorite event that isn't team sports. I'd say that one is winning fairly handily on the text line at 833-401-1440. 833-401-1440. We got lots of other one. Hey, Gregor, ski cross is unreal. Really starting the Olympics. Yeah, 100%. Hey, guys, what about Shawshank? Now, Shawshank, you're right. There was parts of it. I guess that classifies. That'd be a good one, actually. I think you have to. Is it narrated, though, Cons, or is it just certain parts of it that are?
I think Morgan Freeman's narrating throughout the movie, right?
Yeah, but bits and pieces here and there, yeah. So,
I'll count it.
And like he talks about Annie Dufresne. He doesn't talk in third person. He more talks about Annie Dufresne a lot.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Good one. Hey, guys, Dances with Wolves. Well, yeah, that's another good one. That's I haven't seen that movie in a long time. Tatanka. That's what I remember from that one. Classic. But it is one because, it's based on real events that occurred. Now, not specific to those individuals per se, but, that did actually occur in our lifetime. So that's what I love movies like that. When we come back, Spec will join us. We got DVD, lots more on the orders. Their lineup for tonight, we'll get to that. No Connor McDavid, of course. Troy Stetcher's back in on the blue line. Kapanen will be in for McDavid. He's obviously not going to be playing center, though. Your four centers tonight will be Draisaitl, Henrique, Nugent Hopkins, and Noah Philp. I think Henrique is going to start the game anyway with Hyman and Jeff Skinner. And you'll have Nuge with Janmark and Brown. As we know, like that, you could have Nuge and Henrique switch at some point. The Draisaitl line is the one line that seems to stay intact a lot now, obviously, except when Draisaitl goes and plays with McDavid. So we'll see how they do. Like, who knows? Maybe they'll switch some different combinations. Knobloch is not afraid in game to switch different trios and combinations. It happens all the time. Let's get to the Con Man and a Sports 1440 update brought to you by Booster Juice. Shake those wintertime blues with Booster Juice and enjoy one of their many warm and savory fresh food options made in-house daily with the finest ingredients. You can visit Booster Juice today or download the Boosters Reward app.
The Sports 1440 update.
Just over 2 hours away from puck drop is the Edmonton Oilers hosting Alexander Ovechkin and the Capitals. Donovan Paulson and myself got your pregame coverage right here on Sports 1440, getting going at 6 o'clock. Elsewhere around the NHL, moments away from puck drop out in Montreal, the Canadiens hosting the Lightning, the Rangers up against the Sens, Red Wings in Philly, Preds host the Sharks, Stars take on the Canes, Sabres in Vancouver, and the Ducks welcome the Panthers to Southern California. In the association, the Raptors will take on the Magic, tip-off 5:30. We've also got the Knicks in Brooklyn, Heat up against the Trailblazers, Sixers take on the Nuggets, and the Lakers hosting the Wizards in the AJ. Bonneville hosting Grand Prairie, while Camrose is in Olds. Those games both start at 7 in the PWHL. A few minutes away from puck drop out in Minnesota is the Frost hosting the Ottawa Charge from the NFL. Minnesota Vikings and coach Kevin O'Connell agreeing to a multi-year contract extension, while the Patriots are bringing back Josh McDaniels as their new OC. He hasn't been with the team since 2021 after spending 2 years with the Raiders as their head coach. And Major League Baseball legends Ichiro Suzuki, CC Sabathia, and Billy Wagner are the 2025 inductions into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Coming up in hour 4 of the Jason Gregor Show, we'll be joined by Mark Spector of Rogers Sportsnet and Derek Van Diest from NHL.com. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
Sports 1440 in West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin. CKJR is a Stingray radio station.
Download the free radio player app and listen wherever you go.
You don't know what awaits you on the road to come, but with the 2025 XC90 from Volvo of Edmonton, you'll have the versatility to take on whatever life throws at you. The new XC90, a luxurious SUV with seating for up to 7, boasts newly upgraded body and wheel design. It's the perfect choice to drive into the coming year. And right now, you'll save $4,500 and lease from 1.49% on all in-stock 2025 XC90s. Volvo Cars Edmonton. VolvoCarsEdmonton.com, 1205 101 Street Southwest.
The job isn't done until the last load is hauled, and having a semi-trailer out of commission is not an option. Whether replacing or adding to your convoy, Edmonton Trailer has a huge inventory of new and used semi-trailers, trusted by the gravel, logging, oil field, fluids, and freight industries. Find a trailer right for you online or at one of their 3 locations. For sales, service, parts, rental, and finance, when you're in it for the long haul, Edmonton Trailer.
It's a new year, and The Brick is clearing out their old inventory. They're blowing out furniture for up to 60% off the original price, with in-stock items ready to go and additional unadvertised discounts. Check out your nearest Brick location to save up to $1,300 off sofas, up to 25% off bedroom and dining, and up to 40% off mattresses. Plus, more deals in every department. It's a new year, and The Brick is clearing out their old inventory. Exclusions apply. The Brick, saving you more.
Adventure just doesn't stumble into your life. It roars to life with Riverside Motorsports. Tearing up trails or cruising the open road. Yamaha ATVs, side-by-sides, motorcycles, and dirt bikes deliver the performance you crave. Built for thrills, ready for your next adventure. Yamaha's legendary performance and reliability take you there. Make Mother Nature your playground on a Yamaha from Riverside Motorsports. Located on St. Albert Trail. RideRiverside.com. Riverside Motorsports. What you do for fun is our business.
Legacy Heating and Cooling is the only place to call for heating your home. So when it's time to replace your old furnace, call Legacy. Or for 24-hour repair with no overtime rates. Legacy even heats your shower with hot water tank. Call Legacy. Call Legacy. And with no interest and no payments for 1 year, it could only be Legacy Heating and Cooling.
I take possession of my commercial space in 3 months. I need lighting. I need a fire alarm. I need data. I need a generator. I need panels.
Sounds like a job for the men and women of Action Electrical.
Projects team reporting. We design, build, and construct all the electrical systems for your projects. Need everything to work right? Get the Action Electrical project team on your site.
Facing an electrical menace? Call the men and women of Action. Operating throughout Alberta at actionelectrical.net.
At Schwab Buick GMC, our boss is serious about cutting prices on vehicles like Sierras and Silverados. When?
Right Schwabbing now. Right Schwabbing now.
So when he sees the MSRP, he says,
that's not Schwabbing good enough.
He's always looking for more.
Dig the Schwab in.
Save with 0% financing or lease rates as low as 1.9% on 2024 half-ton trucks.
Right now.
At Schwab Chevrolet Buick GMC in Leduc. Right Schwabbing now.
Portion Portions of this hour brought to you by Papa John's. Papa John's would like to say thanks to their pizza-loving customers. Take 40% off any pizza this week. Use code TY40 at papajohns.ca.
Hat tricks, touchdowns, and home runs. Get it all with the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Just after 5 o'clock, Jason Gregor, Connor Halley, Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, X, and Instagram. It is game day. As always, presented by PlayAlberta.ca, where the Oilers, even without McDavid, still the favorite at home tonight against the Washington Capitals. Also, $60 million up for Lotto Max at PlayAlberta.ca. Get your tickets. So Jake, Lance, Bruce, and Reed went into the draw. Connor Halley is going to slide around here, and we have this very official cons, as anybody can watch it on the screen. So there you go. You can pick the name out of the mug. All right, and there we go. And it is indeed Jeff. Jeff, congratulations. So just in case the other guys want to see their name, we're all about truth. There you go. Well, Lance, that was upside down. There you go, Lance. There you go, Reed. And there you go, Bruce. So awesome. Jeff, we will get a hold of you. And you're going to the game tonight. Oilers and the Washington Capitals. Should be a good affair. While we do that, let's get to the spec report brought to you by GS Construction in underground infrastructure. You might not think it's important until you really need it in your roads, in your community. They do it all, and they're hiring. Go to Indeed.com and look up GS Construction. You want to work for a fantastic company. All sports fans, they work hard, they play hard at GS Construction. Mark Spector joins us, and Spec, obviously, hey, we've talked a lot about the McDavid. He gets a 3-game suspension. Now they'll play 3 games without him. There's lots of people who, thought, hey, 3 games is maybe one too many, but away they go. And now I think it's going to be Henrique, Hyman, and Skinner as a combination after the Draisaitl line. And now Nugent Hopkins maybe could switch in there. We know Knobloch likes to move it around, but we saw Henrique, Skinner, and Hyman when Connor Brown was getting a look with Connor McDavid.
Yeah, let's see what he does. Chris is, we always compliment him for having a pretty good feel for his team, and he doesn't always stick with his lines if he doesn't like the way things are going. And the third thing I'd say is they've been starting so bad the last few games, Jay, that I have a hard time thinking the lines off the top are going to be the same lines off the top of the second period, the way they've been first period.
No, that's fair. So that is totally fair. So it's, and the thing was the prior 7 games, they started great and they scored the first goal 7 times in a row. So it's a little bit of a Jekyll and Hyde right now for them. They'll obviously want a good start. I would think without McDavid, attention to detail will probably be a little bit better, but man, even with McDavid in the lineup, tonight was going to be a heck of a matchup. The Washington Capitals, the best team in the National Hockey League. It's hard to generate offense against them. They lead the league in goals against. They're 5th best. They're top 5 in shots against per 60 at 5-on-5. Their penalty kill is really good. Like, this is going to be, you got to play a patient, smart game against the Capitals to have any chance of winning.
Yeah, and the one thing I'd like to say is I've never been inside an NHL dressing room when it really matters. I've been in a million of them when it doesn't. But I believe that an Oilers team that McDavid has won a lot of games for and carried through a lot of nights over the years and is going to many more times, I think there's a bit of a sense of responsibility among all these guys in this situation to, ideally they want to go 3-0 while Connor McDavid's out. They want to pick their captain up. Really the only thing they can do for Connor McDavid at this point, right, is to win hockey games. And I think it would, mean a lot. And there's always people who will say, oh, McDavid, I don't think anyone's calling them a one-man team anymore, but you know what I'm saying. For the Edmonton Oilers to go out and beat a Washington team that's as good as there is in the league without their best guy, I think that would go a long way, Jay, in that dressing room.
Yeah, that's fair. Also, it could be it would put them first place in the division for the first time all season, as the Vegas Golden Knights are in a little bit of a funk here now, and that's allowed the Oilers to gain ground.
Yeah, it's really amazing. All the teams, like everyone, Edmonton went that 24 games where they won like 19 games, and they did pick up a few points on Vegas, but LA was going almost just as well. Vegas was going great. Winnipeg was going great. And then all of a sudden, boom, snap your fingers, and LA's losing a couple. Vegas has lost like, I think 5 or 6 here, or 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Edmonton's lost 1 in a row. They're still going good, but it's everything's turned. Winnipeg lost to Calgary the other day, which came out of the blue. So there's some ground here. But give the Oilers credit. They built themselves. They're right in the race for the President's Trophy now, President's Trophy. So and they got, what do they got left? 35 some games to do it. So they're in a good spot. And I'd say to you that their schedule is not going to get tougher from here on in. They've had a pretty tough stretch the last month or so.
No, it definitely, you've got no back-to-backs here on the 6-game homestand. That they do play every second day, except next week they have 2 days off on the Monday to Thursday game. And, Seattle's not a playoff team. Detroit's not a playoff team. Buffalo's not a playoff team. Tonight's obviously a very tough test. Toronto, the first and last game of the homestand, the 2 toughest tests for sure. And then the Vancouver game, who knows, Spec, might be a little extra juice. We'll see what happens there. And then I've been watching Klingberg in practice. Now, I know it's just practice, but still I watch him. And, after listening to him talk about his mobility issues and how much better he feels now, like, I know he's not playing this week, at least according to Knobloch and him. So maybe we'll see him next Monday. If not, I think next Thursday for sure, right? Like that'll be 10 days skating with the team. I think they want to get him into some games before the break. But like the Klingberg, the more I watch him, Spec, and just, I know it's only practice, but when they're in drills and I watch a few times when Draisaitl and McDavid come in on him and you see him, and I'm like, geez, if this guy is even 85% of what he was at the peak in Dallas, could be a really good signing.
Well, teams that win have a story like this somewhere on their roster all the time. I've covered lots of Stanley Cup champs, and the roster you started your season with isn't usually the roster you ended your season with. Sometimes it's a guy that shows up at the deadline. Sometimes it's a guy like Jeff Skinner that was supposed to be something that falls out of it, that maybe finds a role. And sometimes it's a guy like Klingberg that you picked up for free, and let's see how this story unfolds, right? I agree with you. At practice, he looks like I don't know, he looks like everybody else. Like he's mobile. He skates well. I was watching him the other day to kind of get a feel for some guys with lower bodies. They tend to want to always turn the same way, right? They don't turn well to their left, or they don't turn well to their right. I saw a guy turning freely to both sides. I was almost counting, and it seemed like it was 50-50. So there is a pedigree. He did know how to play a hell of a brand of hockey. When they won the cup, or when they went to the cup in the bubble, and I watched every game of Dallas for the third round against, was it second round against Colorado? I think they played Colorado second round. They played somebody third round and beat them. And then they lost in the cup to Tampa here in Edmonton.
Right.
And I watched every game that Dallas played in that stretch. And he wasn't their best defenseman. Heiskanen wasn't Heiskanen yet. Klingberg wasn't just their best defenseman. I think he was their best player in that run. Yeah. So you're right. You get 85% of that, you got a good player.
Yeah. Oh, God, 100%. And the theory of the D pairing with Nurse could work out very well. Darnell Nurse having a very good season, right? He's very mobile, skates well, does a lot of things. And then you throw in Klingberg, who obviously can move the puck well. And it's not a shrinking violet. Like, he's not going to ram everybody through the boards or anything like that, but he doesn't shy away by any stretch of the imagination. Like, the way the Ekholm Bouchard pair has played this year, you could make a strong argument that if Klingberg comes in and plays well, him and Nurse could be their best pair. Because right now, Nurse and whoever plays with them for the last 3 months has been their best pair.
Yeah. I mean, the modern day defenseman now He's big and he could really skate. In the old days, they were Darian Hatcher. They were big and they didn't skate so great. Nurse is, to me, like, I'm not telling you he's the perfect defenseman, but he's the modern day defenseman. Today's defenseman, you know this, Jay, it's all about being in position, getting to the spot before the forward does. That means you got to be able to skate. And when you get there, you got to be big and hard to get through. And a pairing of two guys, Klingberg's got good size. Nurse is a giant. If they both can skate, they both can handle a puck. They both can put it on Draisaitl, McDavid, whoever's tape in a hurry. That's a modern day pairing right there. And those two guys could eat up 24 minutes a night, no problem.
Yeah, Mark Spector joins us here on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X. And Spec, we see Noah Philp's going to get a run here at the fourth line center. Klingberg, when he gets in, is going to get a run at the second pair right D, and those are two spots that the Oilers had to fill. And maybe they'll fill them internally, and without having to give up any assets in the place of Klingberg. The Vancouver, and not the Garland play, but just lots of other games here, Spec. Like the need for more tenacity and physicality on this roster. Do you think it's needed come playoff time? And is that something Stan Bowman has to address?
Well, I mean, if Klingberg turns out that he can play, if Philp, you're happy with Philp, now you can kind of cherry pick a little bit. Like, what do the Oilers really need? That's not much at that point. So sure, if you could find a winger that gave you a little bit more tenacity, a bigger guy, a guy that liked to throw the body. I don't know, where are we playing that guy at this point? Is he a third line player? Is he a second line player? You tell me. You find Evander Kane in his prime and snap him up. I mean, those guys aren't usually available. But I guess my question to you is, the only thing that I can see them truly lacking is physicality at this point. If those two guys work out, that's the one place where you go, okay, if I could improve one thing on this team, I'd like a team with a little more physicality. Can they do that at the deadline? There's got to be somebody out there, doesn't there, Jay?
Oh, God, now there's multiple different guys. Now, it depends how big of a swing do you want to go, right? Like, what if the Boston Bruins are out of it and Trent Frederick's in? Now, it depends on what the cost is and the acquisition, because the Oilers, they want to try to win the Cup next year, but they want to try to win the Cup this year and next year and then in the year after that. Like, you don't want to blow all of your assets in one big swing, right? And so if you can spread them out, and that's why, like, if they get Klingberg and he plays well and it costs you nothing, that's perfect, because there's not every year you can get a Klingberg, right, for nothing, closing in on the trade deadline, right? Like, Klingberg's basically a trade deadline acquisition that costs you nothing. Noah Philp, in a strange way, is that as well, right? Now, every organization can have a guy they bring up. And I'm not saying he's going to have the same impact, so let's just clarify. But when Pittsburgh brought up Jake Gensel in January, like, that was a huge addition for them. Turns out they ended up second leading playoff when they won their second cup. So when you can make an acquisition like that for your team, and if all Noah Philp does is solidify your fourth line, give you 9 to 10 minutes of solid play, physicality, speed, I think we're starting to see him at some point get a little bit of PK time here.
Yep.
And when he's 50% in draws, if he's decent in the draws, that's a good like, it's an upgrade. If he gives you more than Derek Ryan, then you've improved your team by the 3, 4, whatever the percent number is. And, you do that, then you got a better chance. And that's what I think they need. I still think they need a left defenseman, Spec. If you're going to add all these right guys as depth, I think they need a depth left defender. It's not going to cost you a lot, but I would look for that as well. And you can do that if it gives you to give up a fifth rounder or whatever. That's all you have to give up at the deadline to do it. You do that every year and you don't even think twice about it.
Yeah, okay. I mean, you're talking about a number 7 or 8 guy here, so absolutely, you can find that. You can find that guy for very little, no question about it. So yeah, you know what? Like, what you're talking about here, Jay, is a really good team. Now we're looking at the Oilers. We're saying, okay, let's argue over how they can improve just a little bit. Because when I look at this roster, like, I'm not telling you they got the 20 best players in the league. It's not what I'm saying. But when I look at this roster and I think of realistically, how do I improve on guys? Well, I mean, your first line of Nugent Hopkins, McDavid, and Hyman, that's your first line. I'm not improving on that. Your second line of Arvidsson and Draisaitl and Podkolzin, okay. Could do I like Podkolzin as a third liner if I had a really legit top six left wing? Yeah, maybe. Is that guy Evander Kane? I don't know. We're going to find that out. But now we're splitting hairs a little bit. And if Draisaitl was on this phone call, he may say, whoa, hold on. I like Podkolzin on my wing. Don't mess with this, right? You know, you got a really good third line. You got Janmark, you got Brown, you got Henrique. Like, they're all good players. I don't know. It's kind of getting harder and harder to improve this team. I'm not saying that you couldn't, but now we're digging pretty deep in trying to make this team even better. So they're in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, no, they are. Hey, the Oilers have been a really good team for a long time this year, and so I would expect to continue. Obviously, health will be, health's the one wild card for every team. You get to the playoffs, you get the wrong guy injured at the wrong time, and it can impact you. Like Florida, when they lost the cup in 23, was banged up. Look at all their guys that were banged up. And last year, the Oilers said, like, if Evander Kane plays, can they win one more game? It's very possible, right? Like, he played a style of game that they really missed against the Florida Panthers. No question about it. Now, I have no idea, how effective Kane's going to be or not, right? Nope. I really don't. Nope. So, that's why I think they need to add someone else. Now, if Kane comes back and you've got two guys that bring it, awesome. But I think they need it.
You got $5 million at the deadline, give or take. They're going to add somebody. They're going to cap themselves out at the deadline. Right. So, it sort of becomes a bit of a question mark. How much, if you want a team to retain, then you got to give them a draft pick. So the question becomes, how much do you give up here? But they'll spend that $5 million. I guarantee you that. And, what are we, is the deadline March 7 this year?
Yeah.
Okay. We got a lot of time. Let's all go to Mexico or skiing on the break. And when we come back from it, we'll start to figure out what they need at the deadline, Jay.
Yeah. That's fair, but and things can change between now and then, but you got to start looking now, because keep in mind the deadline is March 7th, but there's the 2-week window in between where there's no NHL hockey, right? So it's kind of a little bit closer just as far as games played. Like the Oilers only have, 15 games before the trade deadline now. So it's getting a lot closer.
Yep, it is. Let's go, man. Like, you know what? I like how this is going. It's been a fun season, but I think we're all in the same boat here. You, me, all our listeners. The season was great. We're kind of about the playoffs in this town now. So if you're telling me they're coming closer, I'm all over it, man. Let's get there.
Yeah. Beck, we will see you at the rink tonight. Have a good one.
Yep, I'll be there. See you, Jake.
There you go. That's Mark Spector, the Spec Report, brought to you by GS Construction. The Oilers lineup tonight, no McDavid, but Henrique, Nugent Hopkins, Draisaitl, and Noah Philp will be your four centers. As we know with Knobloch, the line combinations can alter halfway through the first period. It all depends kind of how things are going. I think, the Oilers would love a better start. You don't want to be down 2-0, 3-0, 3-0 like their last three games. It's not a recipe for success. What is that, 5 straight games now? I think they've allowed the first goal. So I think the last time they scored first, was the LA Kings game, and that happened late in the second period in the 1-0 win. So they would love, I think, a better start tonight against the Washington Capitals. Both teams pretty even when it comes to scoring first. Edmonton is 17-3-5. Washington is 17-3-3. So we'll see. The one thing about the Caps, though, they have the best record in the league. Edmonton does have the 5th, but Washington has the best winning percentage when allowing the first goal. They're able to come back lots of times. So they are, 12-4-1, I think it is. Really good record. We'll come back. DVD will join us in more on the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Hockey is back, and Play Alberta, Alberta's #1 sportsbook and official partner of the Edmonton Oilers, has you covered with bigger offers, boosted odds, live betting, player props, and more. New to Play Alberta? New players now receive $200 in free bets just for signing up. You already play? Get a $10 free bet for every $100 you bet every week all season long. Visit playalberta.ca and make your picks today. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
Imagine a family get-together where the smiles are as genuine as the conversations. That's the feeling you get at Nisku Ford, a family-owned dealership where finding a new Ford feels just like catching up with old friends. Swing by during the 2024 model clear-out and take advantage of January rebates of up to $9,000 or access finance rates as low as 0%. The coffee's on, so drive into Nisku Ford or visit niskuford.ca today. above expectations.
Stressed over holiday bills? Breathe easy, because with Cross Mitsubishi, you're secure and stress-free for up to 6 months. That's right, you'll make no payments for up to 6 months. Plus, Mitsubishi's 10-year, 160,000-kilometer limited warranty is the best in the industry. So when you're sitting behind the wheel, Cross Mitsubishi is standing behind you. Cross Mitsubishi. Drive your ambition. See Cross Mitsubishi in store for details. 9605 34th Ave and at crossmitsubishi.ca.
Diablo Boots and Canada West, the two best names in work, biker, and western boots. Diablo has been selling quality Canadian boots for over 60 years, from size 6E to 15EE. Why buy boots made in China like Ariat, Red Wing, and Dakota, when Diablo Boots has the best quality for less? Made in Winnipeg. Plus, all of Diablo Boots have replaceable soles and heels for longer life. So save on boots by Save on Foods. That's Diablo Boots, 3340 Gateway Boulevard, on the east side of Save on Foods.
Need a solid foundation without the fuss? Richard and Kalina at DCL Pile Driving have your back. Locally owned, they offer straight, driven piles. No screwing around. Serving all of Alberta, DCL Pile Driving gets your foundation ready in hours with minimal ground disturbance. Perfect for tight spaces, whether it's for a deck, grain bins, or RTMs. Tell them the radio sent you and receive a special discounted rate. Call or text 587-322-PILE. DCL Pile Driving. Don't get screwed. Get piles driven.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Cantorg. We offer sale, rental, repair, and calibration of hydraulic, pneumatic, and battery-powered torque wrenches, stud tensioners, and flange maintenance equipment. Order today at cantorg.com.
From puck drop to kickoff, it's the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
.527, welcome back. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley, Sports 1440. Hey, guys, would 97 be in the dressing room with the team during his suspension or at the rink at all during the games? From J-Dub. Yep, he was actually on the ice today, skating in the morning skate with teams. So when you're suspended, he can't play the game, but you're allowed to be around the rink as he is. Now, usually, if let's say the Oilers left today on the road trip for 2 games, now, depending on the team, but often a suspended guy who can't play won't go. But other than that, no, he's around the team. You know what? He could be in the room if he wanted before the game. High-fiving guys when they walk out and when they walk off the ice. He just can't be on the ice, but he'll be around the team for certain. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley with you, Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X. As the Oilers getting set to take on the Washington Capitals. It's the first of 2 meetings this season between the two teams. They'll meet again in the final week of February when the Oilers have a 4-game road trip coming out of the Four Nations tournament break. So they'll see the Capitals. Is actually, I think, the second half of a back-to-back, like a Sunday afternoon game. So it was interesting talking to Washington people. They're kind of disappointed Ovechkin's not that McDavid's not playing. Sure, they know it would make it harder for the team that they work for, but you don't get many opportunities to see the best players in the game. And like Capitals fan, like think about it, if you're an Oilers fan and Sidney Crosby got suspended the day before, 10 years ago when he was, the best player in the game, you'd be like, okay, yeah, well, our chance, but geez, kind of want to see him play. And I get that's how it is. Like the Capitals, you want to test yourself against the best. Now, as Ovechkin said, hey, good for them. He's not playing, sure. But, I don't think they're going to take the Oilers lightly. It's a slightly easier game. Let's call a spade without McDavid in the line. Let's get to the lineup report now, brought to you by Druid Power Sport and Marine. You can hit the winter trails this winter and the waves next summer. Right now, you can get $50 bi-weekly for any ATV, or you can cruise the open water next summer for as low as $105 bi-weekly. Get a boat right now at Sherwood Power Sports and Marine, as Derek Van Diest from NHL.com joins, talking about the lineup and DVD. No Connor McDavid. The Draisaitl line will stay together. And I think we're going to see Henrique with Hyman and Jeff Skinner, a line we saw a few games earlier this season when Connor Brown got a bump up playing with McDavid and Nugent Hopkins. And, that line, and then you had Nugent Hopkins with Janmark and Brown. And that doesn't mean that that Nugent Hopkins and Henrique won't switch right away. But I think they'll try to go with that, because the one guy who seems to have the most success with Skinner has been Henrique. And then if you put Hyman on their line, there is the potential for more offense.
Yeah, that looks like the way they're going to go here. And obviously this is going to be, I think it's going to be a big 3 games for Jeff Skinner. I think this is the make or break for Jeff Skinner. He's going to get some top 6 time. He hasn't had much top 6 time this year. He's kind of obviously fallen out of favor with Coach Chris Knobloch, who's mentioned more than once that Skinner's got to basically work harder. He needs him to work harder. And so this is going to be an opportunity for him to kind of show that, he belongs as a top 6 forward. He's a top 6 forward, but he hasn't played there for the Oilers this year, and he's not very effective when he plays down the lineup. So, and Chris Knobloch talked today about, hey, when one guy's missing, you're missing a huge piece like Connor McDavid. That opens the door for other guys, offensive zone opportunities, offensive opportunities, power play opportunities. So it's going to be interesting to see who picks up the slack here. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough game tonight. The Capitals are a really, really good hockey team. They're more than just Ovechkin now. They really, loaded up and bulked up. And as we were talking earlier today, they're a big, big team. They're a big, strong team. So it'll be interesting to see. But, yeah, it's an opportunity for some guys to get maybe extended playing minutes here, and it'll be interesting to see what they do with it.
Yeah, and as Leon Draisaitl mentioned, some guys can get fired up about it a little bit more. Like I look at Jeff Skinner and I watch him play, and I think if Jeff Skinner's ever going to get in the top 6, the one thing he's going to have to do, and it's hard, he's 15 years in the NHL, right, is he's got to be able to make more plays with the puck. And I think, honestly, that's all I'm going to be watching for with Jeff Skinner. When he makes plays with the puck, and what I mean by making plays is there'll be times when he has the puck in the offensive zone, and the game is so fast now. You'll have a guy open, and if you don't move it right away, there's a slight hesitation or an extra stick handle. Well, now that lane is gone. And so, the ability to expose the defense now is gone. And I think that's the one thing I really haven't seen from Skinner is he doesn't make a lot of plays with the puck.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there. And I remember Craig McTavish used to say to us, the puck can't die with you if in the offensive zone. The puck can't die, and it does a lot. And you're right. He's got to make more plays. He's got to find more people. He's got to get open. He's got to do a lot of things that you've got to do basically with hard work. He's going to have a couple of guys with him that go to the net, that play hard, that do make plays. So I think it's important for him to kind of find those open spaces when he does have the puck, find those open men. And win some of those battles along the boards. I think that's the big thing too. He's not a big guy. He's kind of a smaller guy, but he's got to use like his leverage to get it underneath guys or inside guys' equipment. I think Dave Tippett used to say that all the time, and win those battles and win those puck battles. So it'll be interesting to see. But you're right, the play can't die with him because it has been too often in the offensive zone that the play dies with him and then teams come back the other way. So I think that's one of the things that the Oilers are looking at, and yeah, it's something he has to improve on. He's obviously a naturally offensive player, but I think his role here in Edmonton is a little different than it had been in Buffalo. So he's got to find a way to kind of contribute in other ways if he's not getting those top 6 minutes, and now is an opportunity for him to do that.
Yeah, I think it's hard to ask players to be what they're not. And that's what I'm basing it on. I just think Jeff Skinner, I know people see the $3 million and everything and they're like, oh, you got to give him more of a chance. Well, you can give him every chance you want. If he plays the style, a certain style, and that certain style isn't complementary to your top 6 forwards or top 6 centers, then I don't think it's ever going to change. You can give him 30 minutes a game. If the style doesn't change, the amount of opportunities you get becomes irrelevant to me.
No, you're right. You're right there. And he's been playing a certain way for a long time, and now he's asked to do a different role. And you're right. It's not easy to do. It's not easy to kind of get out of your comfort zone. But I think that's kind of what they're asking him to do a little bit here, is get out of his comfort zone here. He probably thought he was going to come in here and play with Draisaitl or McDavid and get an opportunity there. That didn't last long. He hasn't been up with them at all very much this season. So, yeah, but this is an opportunity for him. And I'm like you. I'm really interested to see how he kind of does these 3 games, and especially since he's been sitting out a little bit here, whether he makes the most of this opportunity and whether he says, you know what, I can be part of this team moving forward, because right now he's fallen out of favor, and moving forward, he won't be part of this team if they can't find a role for him.
Derek Van Diest from NHL.com joins us. DVD, I know you cover the Canucks and the Flames and the Oilers, and the saga in Vancouver just doesn't seem to be to going away, right? There was the rumbling that, maybe there's a trade right before the game, and now there's reports that was never really close. So I don't know if people are just trying to jump the gun on this, but like, do you think there's going to be a conclusion to that this season, or is it the off season when that moves?
I think it'll be this season, because it's become such a distraction right now with JT Miller. He went out there. I thought he had a pretty good game the other night, but he's struggling a little bit. Obviously, he's not handling this well. There's obviously some sort of a rift there, and the fans have taken sides, and it's not JT Miller's side. Let's just say that. And so, yeah, there's kind of a lot of rumors and speculation, and they pulled him out of the lineup. He wasn't going to play because supposedly he's going to get traded. Then they put him back in the lineup, and now no one seems to know what's going on. But it's obvious, it's evident that I think his time in Vancouver has almost come to an end here, and I think they're either going to have to move him now and move on, or risk missing the playoffs and try and get maybe more for him in the offseason. It depends on where Vancouver sees himself in this cycle. Like last year, I thought they were ahead of schedule, and they played a lot better. They played much better than people expected them to do, and they made it to the second round of the playoffs. But I think this year they were supposed to build on that, and they've taken a step back. So now you look at that team and you go, okay, well, we've taken a step back. What do we do here? Do we kind of try and load up again and get back to where we were, or do we kind of reset? And it's going to be really interesting to see. I don't know what the dynamic is in that dressing room, but it doesn't sound like it's harmonious. It doesn't sound like they're a tight group. It sounds like there's a lot of infighting. There's a lot of stuff going on in that dressing room right now, and they got to figure it out. They got to solve it before they move forward. So I'd be surprised if JT Miller was still a member of the Vancouver Canucks after the trade deadline. And if he is, then I think he probably will be moved in the offseason.
The Calgary Flames, right there with the Canucks and the St. Louis Blues. And the LA Kings aren't completely out of harm's way at all. They've got some breathing room for sure, no question. But they are only 4 points up on the Calgary Flames all of a sudden. I look at like the Flames and the Flames. I give them credit. They've been battling. Is it like, are they just in a bad spot? Like they're giving you everything they have, but it's going to come up short, and then they're going to be outside the top 10 picks, which would be worst case scenario for the Flames.
That would be. I think the Flames are playing with a bit of a chip on their shoulder. No one gave them any chance to do anything. They were supposed to be, what was the word, Craig Connery? Reloading, I think he called it. They're reloading, not necessarily rebuilding or reloading, or retooling might have been it. I can't remember the exact word used. But they got a lot of good young players that are kind of making hay here and are kind of playing with a chip on their shoulders. And I think the Flames, to be honest right now, Jason, I think they're playing with house money. No one expects anything out of them. Okay. Everyone expects them to eventually fall off, and they're going off, and they're playing hard. And Jonathan Huberdeau's playing better. Like this is a guy that they brought in, and he kind of fell off the map after getting 100+ points in Florida. He had like 55 his first year in Calgary. So he fell off the map. So he's playing a little better. I'm not sure what's going to happen with Nazem Kadri there. I'm not sure if he's going to last past the trading deadline. Like he's playing okay, but this is a guy that could help you if you're going on a long playoff run. We'll see what happens there. He does have a long-term contract in Calgary.
It's hard to trade him.
So it'd be tough to move. But yeah, I think right now, the Flames are playing with house money. It's like, hey, no one's giving us a chance to do anything. And they're getting very good goaltending too. Like they're getting really good goaltending. And I think that obviously helps you a lot, but there's some good young pieces there in Calgary, and you're seeing, and these kids are getting opportunities that maybe they wouldn't get on a more veteran-filled team. And I think they're making the most of it. Whether they can hang around, like they've hung around for a lot longer than people thought they would. They got off to that great start, and everyone says, well, they'll drop off. And they've kind of been hanging around. And right now they're in a playoff spot. So if they can kind of maintain that positioning and get in the playoffs. That would be huge for this young group to get some playoff experience and get in there even for a round, maybe another round, maybe second round or something like that. But I think that's what they're looking at, going, okay, we're going to set the foundation here. And we have some talent going into the season. They weren't sure how those young guys were gonna fare, but it looks like they got some pretty good young talent there in Calgary.
Yeah, Kadri's 34, and he has 4 more years after this at 7 sheets. I think it'd be a hard sell to move him unless they're going to want to eat a fair amount of that cap hit. And, Kuzmenko doesn't have a ton of value, especially at $5.5 million. Anthony Mantha, the other UFA, pending UFA, he's injured. He's on IR, so hard to move him. And then on the back end, like Tyson Barrie, maybe, the team might be looking for depth, right shot defenseman. Sure. Possibly you could move him, but you're not going to get a late round pick. So I'm not even sure they're in a position to really sell off any pieces. So they might just go with status quo and say, hey, let's roll the dice and, see what happens.
Yeah, no, they might. They might. And I don't foresee them loading up or anything this season. So I don't see what happens there. You have Blake Coleman. Could they get something for him? I'm not sure. He's having a decent season. But they're getting a lot of guys. They're scoring by committee. They don't have a guy that has 50 points, which I think their leading scorer, just looking at here, Huberdeau has 32 points. He leads them at 32 points, and they got Kadri at 29. So they're getting a lot of depth scoring. They don't have a top end guy, but I think they are getting contributions from guys that they necessarily weren't expecting to get big contribution from, like Coronado, like Zary. And obviously Dustin Wolf is having a really good season in goal. So I think they are getting some contributions from some younger guys, which is very promising if you're a Calgary Flames fan.
DVD, we'll see you at the rink tonight, my man. Have a good one.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me on.
There you go. That's Derek Van Diest. The lineup report brought to you by Sherwood Park Power Sports and Marine. Once again, Draisaitl with Arvidsson and Podkolzin. I think Henrique's going to start with Hyman and Jeff Skinner. Nugent Hopkins with Janmark and Brown. I could see those two centers swapping at some point during the game. A few shifts here or there. We'll see. You'll have Philp with Perry and Kapanen on your fourth line. Bouchard, Ekholm, Nurse, Stetcher, Kulak, Amberson, Stu Skinner will get the start in goal for the Edmonton Oilers. Meanwhile, the Washington Capitals, who come to town with the best record in the National Hockey League. They got a huge forward group. Strome will center Ovechkin and McMichael. Pierre-Luc Dubois with Tom Wilson and Alexi Protas. That is a huge line. Wait, if you're going to the game or you're watching on TV, they are massive, that trio. Eller with Frank and Radish. Dowd with Mangiapane and Duhaime. Sandin and Carlson. Chikrin and Van Riemsdyk. Baravari and Matt Roy, and in goal, Logan Thompson, who's having himself a heck of a year. We had Kevin Woodley on the show yesterday, and Woodley says he's actually slightly ahead of even Hellebuck in a lot of his numbers. Now, hasn't played as many games as Hellebuck. He started 25 to Hellebuck's 36, so it's a big difference. But Logan Thompson's having himself a heck of a season. The Capitals come in number 1 ranked in goals against per game on the season. They are also the second highest scoring team in the NHL so far this season. So they're good offensively, good defensively. The Oilers, maybe kind of quietly, they're 7th, actually tied for 6th in goals against at 2.74 after they were 32nd after 11 games. They've been really good defensively. Offensively, the Oilers are now up to 7th spot as well in goals per game at 3.28. They have been the highest scoring team in the league since November 1st. So they obviously can score. Their defense is good. Their penalty kill a little bit leaky in 2025. 9 games in January, and they've allowed 6 goals on 18 kills. So they'll want to get back in and tighten things up on the PK. Quick break. We'll come back, wrap things up. We'll hear from Chris Knobloch and more on the Jason Gregor Show, Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
You don't know what awaits you on the road to come, but with the 2025 XC90 from Volvo of Edmonton, you'll have the versatility to take on whatever life throws at you. The new XC90, a luxurious SUV with seating for up to 7, boasts newly upgraded body and wheel design. It's the perfect choice to drive into the coming year. And right now, you'll save $4,500 and lease from 1.49% on all in-stock 2025 XC90s. Volvo Cars Edmonton. VolvoCarsEdmonton.com, 1205 101 Street Southwest.
It's a new year, and the Brick is clearing out their old inventory. They're blowing out furniture for up to 60% off the original price. With in-stock items ready to go, and additional unadvertised discounts. Check out your nearest Brick location to save up to $1,300 off sofas, up to 25% off bedroom and dining, and up to 40% off mattresses. Plus, more deals in every department. Some exclusions apply. The Brick, saving you more.
Looking for the perfect spot to unwind? Check out The Ridge Social Eatery, St. Albert. The Ridge is a locally owned, upscale neighborhood restaurant offering unbeatable daily features. Open daily at 11:30. Craving something late? Check out their new late night menu from 8 till close. Tuesday is wing night. Come savor The Ridge's perfectly seasoned wings that always hit the spot. And why not pair those wings with a $4 draft pint? Welcoming atmosphere, friendly staff, good times. For more, visit theridgestantalbert.com or social media.
I'm Rick Showers from No Bull RV, and I'd like to thank all the people who buy new RVs. Buying your RV new is the most generous thing you can do to help your fellow man. Every year, thousands of people just like you go to the RV show or walk into a new RV store, pay full price, take great care of it like you always do, and then eventually sell it to us. And of course, we pay you market value for your used RV.
But that's tens of thousands less than you paid for it.
That's right, Bob. Could be half of what you paid for it when it was new, and it's still in great shape. So who gets the benefit of that reduced value? Our customers, that's who.
No Bull customers never pay full price for an RV because we only buy used.
Right again, Bob. So we'll enjoy the same RV you have now, only we pay like half as much. And it's only possible because you generously decided to pay that higher price when you bought it. So thanks again to all the new RV buyers, and we'll see you in a few years.
And that's No Bull.
NobleRV.ca.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Crystal Glass, your clear choice for residential windows. Locally manufactured and installed, Crystal Glass provides a beautiful product and incredible customer services for all of your residential needs. Call 310 Glass or visit crystalglass.ca for a quote.
The Jason Gregor Show, the best of Edmonton sports talk and beyond. This is Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Well, a little sandstorm for you. Ooh, pump it right up on a Tuesday afternoon. The Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca, where you can get in the game. Use the promo code Gregor50 and get a free $50 play this month of January. Get a new one in February, so don't waste it. You might as well use it now. Oilers still the favorite tonight against the Washington Capitals, as always on the NHL scoreboard on Tuesdays. Usually a fair amount of games tonight. No different with an 8-game schedule. And you see some games underway already. The Lightning leading the Canadians. Kucherov has his 22nd. And the Senators, Alex Lafreniere has his 13th. After 20 minutes, they lead Ottawa 1-0. Red Wings and Flyers going at it. Both teams desperately need a win. Some late games that matter to the Oilers. I guess the Canucks hosting the Sabres, because the Oilers are going to play the Sabres and the Canucks. Those two teams are the next two opponents. Also, I guess Dallas, if there's a race for first in the Western Conference, you can say Dallas. They host the Carolina Hurricanes. Dallas really on a run here as of late. I'm seeing a lot of people, hey, guys, don't count out Nashville. And I'm kind of like, what? Yes, I know Nashville's won a few games. Nashville is 12 points out of a playoff spot right now. And that's with them winning 3 in a row. Like, they're 5-5 in their last 10 games. Calgary's 5-5 in their last 10 games. They haven't made up any ground in their last 10 games. So 3-game winning streak is nice for Nashville, but come on. It's lights out Irene for the Predators. They're not going to play that good down the stretch. Their GM is going to make some moves. Like I don't see how the Preds are going to get that hot. They're awful on the road. They've won 5 of 23 games on the road this year. Is that magically going to change? And out of their final 18, they're going to win like 15 of them? I don't think so. So, sorry, Preds fans, but I do not see it at all. So, hey, guys, further to your McDavid talk earlier, what's going to stop anyone from tackling a player with less than a minute left in the game? If I'm a coach, I'm telling my guys, tackle McDavid, McKinnon, Matthews, do whatever. Who cares? I'll take my chances with less than a minute left in the game and not challenge the puck. It'd be an absolute best. Don't have to chase the puck. Just interfere with them. It's a joke. That one comes in from Rob. Hey, guys, maybe they should dress Stetcher versus Garland. You know what? Troy Stetcher, he's a little gamer. They'd be like, 2 little Bantam Roosters going after. That'd be a great tilt. I'd be all over that. I think both of those guys would be chucking from their ankles too, just giving you everything they have. I'd be all over it. Why not? So I don't have a problem with the Cons. What about you?
No, not at all. Stetcher seems like the type that would say, yeah, I get it. I'll go out there and do that.
He's a gamer. He plays hard.
Absolutely. Honestly, it is kind of funny that the texter brings it up like with the minute left. I think it's a strategy you probably want to deploy like 15 seconds or less. At a minute, you're probably going to get the call. That could set you up for 45 seconds on the PK. With the Oilers, that's dangerous. 15 seconds, that's probably where I start to deploy the maul the opposition strategy, I think.
Yeah, fair. Hey, guys, I think Bobby Clark and Bobby Orr would say that what McDavid did was pretty generous in light of being held down for 14 seconds from Steve. In a different era and a different time, Steve, you are probably very, very correct. So, hey, boys, did you see what Sather said about Ovi passing the Gretzky goal record? I did not. Did you, Cons? What did Slat say?
No, I'll take a look
here.
here.
He's not a fan of it? Like, you know what? Hey, I can see people, it's a record that a lot of us thought was never going to be broken, right? So I get, and there's some Canadian people that are proud to be Canadian, and I understand that too. So I have, but to me, I really don't have an issue with it because you know what? Gretz doesn't have an issue with it. I really don't buy for a second that there's any animosity for him to see Ovechkin chase the record. Now, he's not chasing his points record, right? His playoff records. Like, he's got so many records. And I think he'll look, this is great. And, Ovi what he's done is pretty impressive. Now, the interesting thing will be, could anybody, because Ovi's going to get to 900, right? Like, so now he needs 21 goals, which is funny. Like, 21 goals the rest of the way isn't just like chopped liver. It's hard to do. Right? He's got to score a goal every second game, basically, down the stretch here. And even a little bit higher than that because the Capitals have, what do they have remaining? 36 games? Like 21 goals in 36 games, no joke. Right? That's like almost a 50 goal pace. So he still might not do it this year. And that's okay if he doesn't. But, so there's no guarantee it's this year. Maybe it's next year. Whenever it is, it's going to be fantastic to watch, but he's going to get to 900. Right? Like, it's going to be at 894. He's not just going to pass Gretzky at 895 and then stop playing. Although could you imagine if he did that? I broke the record. I'm out. No, I think if you're at 895, you want to get to 900, don't you? Especially if you do it early in the season. I could see why you do it. Or even this year. Why not? Take a run at it. What about 1,000? Now, that would be unreal. It's probably wishful thinking, but you never know. Coming up next, Connor Halley, Donovan Paulson, the pregame show, Oilers, Capitals. They'll take you right up until puck drop. On behalf of Connor Halley, Declan Kruger, I'm Jason Gregor. If you missed any parts of the show, go to jasongregor.com or anywhere where you get your podcasts. Let's get to the comments. Sports 1440 update brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling. And they are hiring right now, man. They got unreal offers. So not only you're going to get competitive wages from them, but you can also get a boatload of other things like strong benefits, starting bonus for the right candidates, RRSP matching, tuition reimbursement, and more. Put in your application today at legacyheating.ca.
to the Sports 1440 update.
Game day, the Edmonton Oilers hosting Ovi and the Caps down at Rogers Place. Puck drop 7-ish. We got pregame coverage coming up next with Donovan Paulson and myself right here on Sports 1440. 3 games underway right now. Canadians trail the Lightning 1-0. Sens behind the Rangers 1-0. And the Red Wings and Flyers are scoreless. Later tonight, Preds host the Sharks. Hurricanes in Dallas. Canucks taking on the Sabres. And the Panthers travel to Anaheim in the association. Not a great start for the Raptors. They trailed the Magic 25-8 with 5 minutes left in the first quarter. They also got the Knicks on top of the Nets 22-20. And the Heat at home lead the Trailblazers 14-12 later on. Sixers in Denver and the Lakers hosting the Wizards in the PWHL. After 20 minutes, Ottawa leads Minnesota 1-0. In the AJ, Bonneville will host Grand Prairie. While Camrose is in Old, both games get going at 7 o'clock from the NFL. Minnesota Vikings and head coach Kevin O'Connell agreeing on a multi-year contract extension, while the Patriots are hiring Josh McDaniels as their new OC. McDaniels returns to the Patriots, this time under Mike Vrabel. And from the majors, Ichiro Suzuki, CeCe Sabathia, and Billy Wagner all inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. That'll do it for us here on the Jason Gregor Show. We've got pregame coverage coming up next here on Sports 1440. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
It's Sports 1440, a Stingray radio station broadcasting on Treaty